Day Wanderers. We are really excited to hang out with you, whether you're going to come hang out with us tonight live or you're watching this afterwards because you're hanging out with friends and family this evening. We are just happy to be here. We've had a bunch of questions from you guys recently, whether it was on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. So we figured we would take some time. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a live and answer some of those questions for you guys. So we are really, really excited to be here. Daniel, where are we?
We are currently in, now I've got to think about this typically because it's a real thing when you travel all the time. Sometimes you wake up in your own bed and you're not sure where you are. Like literally you just wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, where the heck am I? We're currently in...
We're in San Diego, and we only got here a couple of hours ago. And
yeah, that's what it is.
We woke up at 4:00 a.m. this morning to go catch a sunrise in Joshua Tree. So we got up crazy early, went on a bunch of hikes, and then traveled 3 or 4 hours to get here to San Diego. So I function really well under no sleep. Daniel, on the other hand, struggles a little bit more. But that's going to make this evening
cognitive
fun.
Abilities just are decreased when I'm tired.
It's
so
real.
You're getting like a fatigued version.
But Kimberly, welcome. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. John, Brian, it's a pleasure.
Jill, welcome.
Oh, hey, Jill.
Yeah, Kim, awesome.
All right.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
So honored that you guys are even hanging out with us on the computer or on your mobile phone this evening, and it being Memorial Day weekend. We hope you guys have a ton of fun plans for tomorrow and relaxing.
Maybe some cookouts, right?
Maybe some cookouts. You may even
Um,
be able to see some of those behind us in our background. Let's see. Terry, it's going really, really well. Mildly tired, but we're so pumped to be here.
Yes.
Alberta, hello from Canada. And Mike, hi, how are you?
Yes.
All right, so should we just dive into some of these questions?
Definitely.
Okay, so
first I'm going to pour myself a quick drink here. This is from Brooklyn. It's called Grimm Brewery.
we got that at a local wine shop in Joshua Tree
In
just
Joshua
a couple
Tree.
of days ago.
Yeah, it's like a local wine and beer shop, and they were awesome.
So how we've organized these questions, like I mentioned, we've pulled them all from Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and we kind of organized them into little groups.
Yeah.
So these are questions that are from people who aren't necessarily on here. So obviously, Aaron or Jill or Mike, if you guys have questions, all of your questions are going to take precedence over the ones that we've got outlined. But we figure we'll jump right in. So our first series of questions are all about how we chose our RV. So I'm assuming because y'all are hanging out with us on Memorial Day weekend, you've been following our journey. So you probably already know that we are coming to you live from our 2021 Airstream Classic, which is 30 feet long. She is a travel trailer, and that is our rig.
It is. And I think that we probably gave a bunch of people a heart attack a few weeks ago when we posted an RV shopping video. But the fact of the matter is that Lauren's grandfather, or Papa, was shopping for an RV, and we decided to go with him. And he is an early RVer, not early RVer, but he had RV'd like decades ago, and he wasn't really up to speed on all the new RVs. And to be 100% honest with you, we're sort of new to RVing, so we had a lot to learn as well. And we hope you learned as much from that video as we did, because there's just so much to learn.
Well, I mean, the possibilities when it comes to your rig are basically endless.
Right.
And we chose our Airstream specifically because we knew we wanted to have a vehicle that detached. We wanted to tow as little as possible while it's still being functional from a full-time home perspective. And then because we are so passionate about local businesses and supporting the American economy and American-owned businesses, Airstream just felt like a really, really good fit for us. But we had so much fun looking at all the other RVs. Literally, it's incredible how many options there are.
It's true. Yeah, I think that the one thing we agree that we probably would not have gone with is a Class B, which is kind of like that van life. When we go to Hawaii, people often ask us, like, what are you going to do when you go to Hawaii? We're probably going to rent a Class B and tour Hawaii, it'll be a good way to see if like we could ever partake in maybe that van life in the future or not. I don't know. At this point, it would be tough.
We get a lot of y'all who will say that if only you could convince your wives to go full-time RV, I am never going to be convinced that we should go van life.
Are you guys seeing a blurred picture right now? I see a couple of you guys commenting on that. We're at a new campground, so that is always a potential here. Got it. And Ivan, yes, Memorial Day is to give thanks and honor those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. So that is what it's all about.
And there are a lot of things that you can do for Memorial Day. One of the things that obviously we're all about is shopping local businesses. So make sure that you're out there supporting your veteran-owned businesses this weekend. And really all of the time, but this weekend is especially a good time to do it.
Aaron, great question about the running. We are going to be running the Chicago Marathon in October. I don't know if we talked about that up to this point. I don't think so, but we're both going to be running the Chicago Marathon in October and super, super, super excited about that. And then last week, I found out that I also got into the New York City Marathon.
Which is like 30 days later.
Which is 30 days later. So it's going to be like back-to-back marathons again this year. But hopefully things will be back up to speed by October, November, and the energy will be there, and it will just be an amazing experience.
Truth.
Great question.
Brian has a good question. He says, although you're new to RV, you've traveled quite a bit. Yes, that is very true. We were counting. We figured that we've been to over 30 campgrounds now. So how comfortably pulling the Airstream, and have I pulled the Airstream, and how do I like it? Okay, how comfortable are we getting?
I would say that when I started towing, my worst fear was pulling down a dead end, and that's already happened, and I've already navigated my way out of that. So I feel like I can tackle anything towing this Airstream now. We've driven close to 20,000 miles in the truck, and we've hit 18 states. What are we at? 17 or 18 states.
Maybe 19. I think California is 18.
So we've traveled a lot with the trailer, and we've experienced windstorms and snowstorms and everything in between. So I feel pretty confident driving. The next challenge is getting Lauren up to speed on pulling the trailer. Future video coming soon. That's going to be amazing.
Well, and I would say as far as like being comfortable, like living in it feels totally normal now, which is really wonderful. Because when you first move into an RV, if you never spend much time in it, it's a very different like way of life. You have to worry about turning on your water heater before you can take a shower. Like there are just all sorts of weird idiosyncrasies about it. But we feel really comfortable living in it now. Daniel's right. I need to learn to tow it. It's really bad that it hasn't happened already. If I hadn't have sprained my ankle so bad right before we went to White Sands National Park, we probably would have done it earlier, but my ankle has taken forever to recover. Thankfully, it's getting a lot better. I'm running again. I'm exercising, but it is still a little swollen. So we've been talking about in the next couple weekends, our goal is to just rent like a baby U-Haul and stick it on the back of the truck and let me play with that.
With some cones, maybe. Like we'll get some cones and we'll go to a big parking lot and we'll let Lauren, like, I'm not going to be mean and like create like super tight, like slalom courses or anything. Like we'll start off.
I mean, he probably will be.
I probably will create a slalom course. Maybe just like cone space enough just to fit like the trailer in there and nothing else. Hardcore training.
I'm not the greatest driver on the planet. I feel like it's a really good thing as a person to be able to admit your weaknesses. And being the world's greatest driver is not mine. So I'm going to have a lot to work to do. But I'm absolutely committed to do it, and I can't wait to be towing.
And about me being tired running to Hoover Dam, that is 100% accurate. I was exhausted. I am so out of shape. So got a lot of work to do before marathon season.
We'll get there.
Lots of miles.
Okay, so Mike Williams asked, are we going to keep going after the 365 days?
100% yes.
I think when we started this journey, we kind of were like, okay, a year is a good time to commit. Now that it's been over 8 months, we're like, how did it go by this quickly? We're obsessed and totally in love with living the RV life. And there's so much more that we want to see that we haven't even got to begin to touch everything the U.S. has to offer. So we are definitely going to keep going after 365 days.
Difficult thing is that at this point, we're on a mission to hit. So we're traveling quickly. do focus.
True.
And we know we're passing things because you guys tell us, you're like, hey, if you're near here, stop by here, here, and here. And all those places look amazing. So then we have like regrets for not visiting those places. And we think to ourselves, well, we definitely need to go back. And
we have the world's biggest spreadsheet.
Oh my gosh.
That holds all of you guys' suggestions.
Legitimately, when you guys are making comments about places we need to visit, we have this like master spreadsheet and we add it to that spreadsheet. And that is exactly what we're using to map out the states we're going to visit and the states we're going to go back to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Truth. Okay, John Chalker, hello. How are you, sir? You've got a good question. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, we have a brand new video that came out today about Airstream camping at Lake Mead, which is just outside of Vegas. And it is absolutely beautiful. We were in awe of the fact that it exists and we did not know, and we have been to Vegas a lot. So we absolutely loved Lake Mead, and at Lake Mead or just outside of the National Recreation Area. And if you don't know what the difference is between a National Recreation Area and a national park, make sure to watch the video. But we do a 7-mile hike where we ended up jogging it because we thought it was going to be about 3 miles, but it wasn't a loop. It was a down and back. And we'd only really scheduled about an hour and a half to do it. And we had a lot to get done that day. So we jogged a bunch of it. But John asked, can you bike it? And the answer is absolutely yes. And I would strongly suggest that you do when you go. When we were running / walking and filming out there, we didn't really see very many people. I would definitely suggest, like any other hike, get out there early in the morning.
Early. We did see some mountain longhorn
bighorn sheep?
Bighorn longhorn sheep. Really cool. They were close by, and of course you're just like reaching for your camera as quickly as you can, but
we saw that because it was in the morning.
Exactly.
But on our way back, when people were starting to like get up and actually get out on the trail, we saw tons of people biking, adults, kids. The trail is really super accessible. So if you find yourself out around, Las Vegas, make sure you make a stop
Even
by
strollers. So if you have kids, there were a lot of people pushing strollers down the trail. So it's definitely doable. It's nice and flat.
Okay, Ketsy, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I hate when I don't pronounce people's names correctly. She asks, how much do you think you spend on gas a month while traveling? And I actually know the answer to this question because I use mint.com or whatever that like does all of your budgeting. And so right now we spend anywhere between $300 and $400 a month on gas. We've heard that that's kind of a lot, but we travel almost every week. And then
not only that, but when we get to the campground, we're doing so much exploring. Like when we were in Joshua Tree, there were parts of the park that were only 30 minutes away, and there were other parts of the park that were close to an hour away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, legitimately, we drove over 100 miles easily in a day. So on trips like that, we're going to consume much more fuel than we would if we were just at the campground.
Which we've done too. Like when I hurt my ankle, we hung out for like 2 weeks in the same campground and didn't really go anywhere.
I think
so it's very variable.
We burned like $150, $200 that month. I mean, it was so low because we were stationary for the most part.
Yeah. So would be different for everybody, but it's a good starting point.
That's so true.
Hello, Bill from Atlanta. And okay, y'all have gotten way ahead of us. Hold on.
There we go.
Let's see. Where we go? Oh, okay, hold on, wait. Baby, you all have a bad idea because it's several times harder than towing that 30-foot Airstream, especially backing
it. Wait until after we shoot the video to tell us that. We need Lauren to be using the U-Haul to start.
Truth. Okay, Mike Dunham, you asked, are we going to the yearly Airstream rally this year? Yes, and we're so excited. So we are going to the Airstream rally that is in July in Lebanon, Tennessee. And it's actually during my birthday. My birthday is July 20th. So we are really, really excited about going. We are going to be joining up with Love Subin and actually doing a talk about YouTube and how to grow your channel as an RVer or
build an online community. Really, I mean, that's really what it's all about.
Yep. So that's going to be super fun. So we really hope that a bunch of y'all are going to be there because it'll be really fun to get to meet you guys in real life.
Nice.
Ratman, thank you. We appreciate it. Okay, so
living that truck
Tim,
life. There we go.
Are we coming to Northern California? All right. So this is a good question. Eventually, the answer is definitely yes. But right now, because we are going to the Airstream rally in Tennessee, we have to get there in the relatively near future.
We have a lot of miles to cover. A lot. between now and July.
We're trying to decide how far up the California coast that we are going to go before we cut
True.
east and head back to Tennessee. So for now, we know we're going to go at least halfway and maybe a little further, but it just kind of depends.
You know, I feel like California is sort of like Texas. It's just
huge.
It's huge, right? And it's hard to get it all in one swoop. So we know for a fact we're coming back to California at this point. We're not going to get to hit all of our favorite wineries. So that in itself is a reason to come back.
Yep.
So we'll just have to see how it goes. And then just, I don't know, we've got a long trek back to Tennessee for that conference, that rallies. And we're super excited about that. So
it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doug Badisher asks
Yes.
a good question.
What have you bumped into so far? Okay. Well, I will say this, right? On the first day we picked it up, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And for some reason thought I could parallel park a 30-foot Airstream in what felt like a 31-foot space. That's our first video, and it was absolutely horrendous. I kind of came in too sharp at a 90-degree angle, and I cracked our truck taillight. And I may or may not have put a small dent in the rear fender. If you cut your Airstream too sharp, the propane cylinder tanks will hit, not the tanks really, but the cover will hit your rear bumper, rear corner panel there. So that's what happened. It wasn't great. It's not my best moment, but it happened on the first day, and there really haven't been any other instances since. So
oh my God,
thank you for asking. Where's the wood that we can knock on? 20,000 miles in right now, and nothing besides that on the first day. So far, so good.
No bad juju.
No,
Fingers
seriously.
crossed.
Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
Mike Williams asks, have you been to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan yet?
No, we have not been to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, but we're going to. No, are we going to?
Yes, we're definitely going.
We're definitely okay. So we're definitely going. That was on Lauren's bucket list for sure. We're going back to Michigan eventually to do a collaboration. That's gonna be fun. There's gonna be some Huskies involved in that, and another YouTube influencer that we're super excited about. So that's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
We'll definitely hit the Upper Peninsula for sure.
Well, we did go up to Michigan because Daniel found a half marathon while he was running that series of full marathons at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And we went to,
oh gosh, we always get this wrong.
the coolest place.
The coolest place on the water.
It's a beach town.
One of the Great Lakes. I always forget it. I get it mixed up with other town names.
And I can't remember what it was called, but it was absolutely beautiful. It was on Lake Michigan, and we were so in awe with how blue the water was. We're from St. Petersburg, Florida, so beautiful. We're kind of snobs when it comes to water and what it looks like. And
rightfully so. I mean, St. Pete Beach was voted the #1 beach in the entire United States, so just throwing that out there.
But we were out there on the lake and on the lighthouse pier, and we were looking around. We're like, you can mistake this water for being as beautiful as St. Pete. So it was really, but we loved that area. So pretty.
Let's see here. Did I move it? Okay. What? Oh.
Okay. So let's see. We're gonna try to update our 4K to
options. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we'll
maybe standard. So
there we go. Okay, standard definition.
Does that look better?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
We'll give that a shot.
Beautiful.
And in terms of,
so Michael, no, you have a very good question. You may interrupt for just a few seconds. Daniel, how is the mullet?
I mean, the mullet is coming in pretty nicely, I must say. I'm getting some length back here, so I would say it's a work in progress. Definitely getting some length here. Time for another do. It's a MIP, mullet in progress, for sure. And Lauren loves it.
I do think it looks a little bit better as it stands right now because the sides of it have grown out some, but he's not going to be going to his next haircut alone. That's all I've got to say about it.
Oh my goodness.
So real. All right. Oh, Rick, hi. It's nice to meet you. Let's see.
And literally back to the marathons. Last year I ran 4 and 45 days, and I was I felt like I think I was injured probably after the second marathon, but just kept going. I was definitely injured after the second marathon, just kept going. And by the time the fourth one came around, I literally had nothing left. I needed some like downtime from running. Literally, that downtime turned out to be a
little bit longer than
expected, but it's time to get back in shape.
Okay, so Mike says, how's Airstream holding up after living in it full time? Is the quality as advertised?
Yeah.
So it is holding up really, really well.
Yeah.
I think if you talk to anybody who has an Airstream that has come out of the factory since COVID, they'll tell you that there are these little tiny things that,
For sure.
need to be tweaked because, well, when COVID hit, manufacturing got really difficult for pretty much anybody who is ever manufacturing anything in the history of ever.
I mean, demand is still probably at an all-time high, for RVs, not even just Airstream. I'd probably say just across the board.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to rush to get these things out as quickly as possible. And they're trying to, they're just trying to piece them together. And sometimes they have to rely on manufacturers around the country to put these things together. So if there's any bottlenecks there, it kind of delays some things. But in terms of quality, honestly, I'm trying to think of some of the things we're being 100% honest with you. The refrigerator light popped out and we had to have that replaced, but that's not even made by Airstream. Like most RVs, some of the components in here are made, like the TV is from Samsung and so on. So you're going to have like tiny little things.
We've got a little burner on our stove that it doesn't catch quickly.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that
Tiny
Airstream
things,
it's all covered under our warranty.
Yeah.
So they're just shipping us parts and then we'll get them fixed. So it's been holding up really, really good, but I feel like it wouldn't be honest to tell you about some of the little like weird quirky things. So that's the thing.
Yeah, even the stove. I think it's like we need a new thermocouple, which is not a big deal. They'll just order a new one and replace it. But they're just tiny little things.
Yep.
Honestly.
Totally.
Yeah. So far so good.
So let's see. Chris. Oh, Chris Profit. I'm sorry. There are a lot of questions that are coming in. So if we miss one, y'all just repeat it and we will grab it on the next time around. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's see.
Aaron, so good to see you on here, my friend. Okay. Honor is the worst enemy. Heath. Hopefully Malcolm's there as well. Welcome. There we go. Gotcha.
All right, John, can we get him a crew cut? I have a suggestion. Anyone wants to get together? Yeah, I think I can get down with a crew cut. I feel like that is a real thing.
A crew cut.
Okay, so another question that we've been asked a lot recently is about our tow vehicle.
That's true.
So people are always asking us, how did you pick out your tow vehicle and what did you get? So since Daniel, that was kind of your baby, I'll let you speak to
that. The fact of the matter is that my cousin has been into trucks her entire life. And I've never owned a truck in my entire life. I've always owned like sports cars, right? So when it came time to pick a truck, I didn't know a damn thing about trucks. I just knew they were big.
and wait a second. I think we need to pause by saying I did not want to give up my car. So I had a Mercedes SUV and I was convinced that our SUV should be able to tow an Airstream, which all of you guys know is absolutely not realistic. But I was convinced. So even like the first time we went to look at Airstreams and shop for Airstreams, I was like, yeah, we're going to tow it with my SUV. And they're like, do you mean the one in the parking lot? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's for the Airstreams that you're looking at. That's not going to work.
Yeah. They were like, well, you could probably tow like an Airstream base camp, which is like a very, very small version. And we were like, well, no, we want to tow a classic. And they were like, yeah, no, you're gonna kill yourself.
You need to go get a truck. Come back when you have a truck.
Basically, that's exactly how it went down. And then we went to my cousin. My cousin was like, I was like, what do you need? And my cousin's husband was like, oh, well, you need like a F550. That ought to do it. Like everything else you see in all the forums, right? Like the bigger the better. But realistically, they both recommended an F250. They recommended that we go with a 6.7 liter diesel. The newer trucks have a 10-speed transmission, which makes it, honestly, it's been a dream driving up and down the mountains. No issues towing ever. And in reality, sometimes I have to look up in the rearview mirror to make sure it's still there because I don't feel it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, we went with the F250. You can go with a honestly, every manufacturer has a 3/4 ton that would work. It's not that you need an F-250, but we opted for the F-250 6.7 liter diesel tow package.
Well, we knew we were going to go to all 50 states. We knew we were going to, find all sorts of terrain. So that was a thing. Okay, guys, give us just a second. We're going to see if we can't switch to another internet connection so that we can have it better. Give us 30 seconds.
30 seconds? Okay, we're switching. Switching up. Give us 30. We're switching cameras. Yes. Now. Oh, yeah. Okay. Can you guys hear us now?
Okay, that was a lot longer than 30 seconds. Can y'all hear us, and does this work better?
Are we here? Can you hear us? Can you see us? Anything? Are you guys there? We dropped it down to 480. Lower resolution. There? Better? Is it better? Can you guys... We're...
Yay! All right!
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
We've turned off our fancy camera to hopefully improve the fact that it's coming through. Okay, y'all can hear us. Still blurry. Golly jeepers. So we are really not that far from a big city, but both our AT&T and our Verizon signals out here
both SIM cards are failing right now.
Are a little bit weak.
Yeah, for sure. This is exactly why we're super excited. Again, I feel like I'm always plugging Starlink, but which is not going to have worldwide reach or national reach right out of the gate, but super excited about some satellite internet soon.
Because there are just random places where there is not great cell phone signals.
That's exactly right. And if you guys are looking to RV, the internet thing is just, sometimes you just hit these like black holes of nothingness where nothing works. I mean, literally no SIM cards, doesn't matter whether they have Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile, like nothing will work.
Because usually our internet is pretty solid.
Seriously.
All right. Cool. Well, since we are still, y'all can hear us, and we're just a little bit blurry, we'll keep going because there are still questions that we have not covered. So that is kind of the 411 on our tow vehicle. And like Daniel said, we went with the Ford F-250 diesel, which we love her. She's wonderful, and she's bright blue, so she's super pretty too. We looked at Chevy and Dodge, and honestly, we even looked at electric vehicles, but there's nothing that can tow something this size, at least today. We looked at everything, and we ultimately just chose an F-250, but I mean, literally 3/4 tons are just awesome. They're going to get the job done, whether it's Chevy or Dodge or whatever you decide on. Truth. Yeah. So the next question that we've had about
Yeah.
choosing our RV is somebody asked us, did we actually finance the Airstream or is it just paid off?
Sure.
Oh, do you want to answer that?
Yeah. Oh, well, yes. So the interest rates were super low, and we just financed it because we'd rather spend our money elsewhere than putting it all down on an Airstream. That's just us. We didn't exactly want to like just drop 100+ K on an Airstream.
Well, and for those of you guys
Yeah.
who don't or haven't ever purchased an RV before,
Yeah.
RV financing is a little bit different than what you would expect for normal financing with something
For sure.
on two wheels, like a, or you
I
know,
thought it was
on
gonna be like a car, but-
right? Because that's what we expected too. But then
Yeah.
we found out that
It's
it isn't
super
like a
low
car;
interest.
it's more like a mortgage almost.
Mhm.
And so, because of that, the interest rates were just so low that it made sense for us to finance it because it just made sense.
And then if you want to double up on payments, you can to reduce the term of the loan and all of those
Yep.
things. That's exactly what our mindset was.
So
That's perfect.
pretty cool. All right, let's see.
Brian, you missed out, my friend. It's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting there, Brian. I'm working on it. Working on it, my friend.
All right, so let's see. The next question that people
Yeah.
ask us about all the time is our hitch. So
Oh
this
my
was
goodness,
something
seriously.
that we talked about. We had a live stream that we did with Airstream Corporate on Friday
Partnered
this
with
week,
them. Yeah.
and we talked about a sway hitch, or yeah, sway hitch
Yeah.
versus
Sway hitch.
it's a
We're gonna go with that.
anti-sway, right?
You definitely don't want sway when you're pulling anything, so we'll go with that. Love
Okay,
it.
this is obviously Daniel's thing.
No.
I'll let Daniel talk.
No. The short of it is that we partnered with Airstream, and we did we're gonna launch the video a little bit later, but we did a like top 10 things new RVers should know in collaboration with them, and they had their tech team on the line just in case we say anything stupid, obviously, because we obviously can. You never know with us. We're wild cards. We talk from the heart and from the brain, and it just comes out unfiltered sometimes. So Airstream also had somebody on the line to make sure that we didn't say anything wrong. But it was awesome, and we covered the sway hitches, anti-sway hitches, basically whatever would keep your butt, from swaying while you're driving. We personally ended up going with the equalizer hitch. We know others that have gone with Blue Ox and Pro Pride. Pro Pride would have been probably an option, but they're like $3,000, which is kind of pricey.
Well, and I was already shocked that
yeah,
first I didn't understand that
anti-sway. There you go.
Thank you, Bill. I didn't even understand that not all trucks came with a ball to hitch to the truck. Which I was mind blown about. And then that you have to spend more money after you've already spent money on your RV to get this hitch, and it's another for the anti-sway hitch was like $1,000, and we were like, I'm like this thing is a cash drain, like immediately as soon as we buy it. But we actually spent some time Googling it and researching it, and we were like, oh, we don't want to live with that. Without that, it seems like it's like one stress after the other without the anti-sway hitch.
Honestly, like we looked into Blue Ox and everything, and the dealer was like, equalizer is what you want. It was, I don't know, remember what it cost, maybe $500 to $1,000, but it was definitely worth it just for peace of mind. We've had zero issues.
Yeah.
And it's been a dream. And what we did with them is what we're starting to do with a lot of the vendors that you guys mentioned and some of our favorite vendors is that we're just reaching out to them and asking them if they'll give us discount codes for followers. And Equalizer team got back to us and they gave us a discount code. So what's the code, Lauren? The code is WANDER. So if you're buying an Equalizer sway hitch or if you're in the market for one, they're taking 7% off, which is like their max discount they give anybody, which is super cool. So there's a discount code. You've got discount code WANDER for 7% off an Equalizer sway hitch, which I don't even know if they're like when we bought it, it was not on sale, and I don't even think I've seen a sale. So there you go. And if you have other brands like we talked about that you guys are interested in, let us know. We will reach out to them. We will use sort of this clout to help everybody. That's what we're all about, just building the community and helping each other out.
Truth. Okay,
Yeah.
Mike Williams asks a good question. He says, how do we handle grocery shopping? Local markets? So one of the things that we talked about, we did a video about why wander local, and we talked a little bit about how we shop local. So our number one go-to is always shopping from local
Yeah.
vendors who have local products. And so that
Mhm.
typically means farmers markets when it comes
Sure.
to groceries. So like yesterday morning when we were in Joshua Tree, they had a Saturday morning market. So we went there and loaded up on, strawberries and spinach and like all of the fresh produce that we're going to eat this week, spaghetti squash.
And homemade ramen. Oh my gosh, it was awesome.
Homemade ramen,
Yeah,
which
homemade
we ate last night
It
when we
was
could
so
not
good.
find a restaurant. It was amazing. So we love to go to farmers markets. Now, granted, that's not always
Yeah.
a reasonable solution for everything. I can't get everything that I want at a farmer's market. So the second thing that we look for is like a local store that sells like national products. So like a regional grocery store, but they may have guacamoles or they may have avocados from Mexico kind of thing. So we just look as local as we can and then go from there. We absolutely never shop at Walmart. But we will, like, sometimes it just ends up being, a Publix or Kroger or whatever, HEB.
Honestly, farmers markets are just awesome. Literally, everywhere we go, we try to find a local farmers market. They're not always like, I think Tennessee was probably the only place we've run across recently that had a farmers market 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But most of them have them on like Saturdays and some have them on Thursdays. So it's important when you go into a new city to check and see when the farmers markets take place, because that is where you're going to find some of the best local goods.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And not just like fruits and vegetables, but literally homemade ramen. I mean, who expected that at a farmer's market? But it was awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was really good.
Hello, Glam Dockers. Hi, Terry and Ron. We're so happy y'all are here. Okay, so Mike asks another good question. Do we have a washer and dryer in our rig, or do we go to the laundromat on a weekly basis?
That's a good question.
So this is my domain because Daniel doesn't know how to do laundry. Not really.
Or I do, but if
he
I
doesn't
don't do
it the way I want
right
it
way.
done. And that's a very important thing.
There's Lauren's way, and then there's just the wrong way, which is basically what I do.
Yeah, that's very, very true. So when it comes to laundry, we don't have a washer and dryer in our rig. So unless you have one custom put into an Airstream, none of them come manufactured that way. And that was something I was really worried about when we first moved into the Airstream. I was like, all of the things about that. But honestly, it is so simple to do laundry because most of them have a full on sleep on site. So our is amazing. So now we are here in San Diego. We have laundry on site. I've got a lot of laundry to do because it's been like a week and a half, but I'll just knock it out all there. So I haven't actually had to go into town to do laundry at laundromats at all. And it's been like 8 months. So still pretty convenient. And in some ways it's more convenient than back home because I have like 4 washers and 4 dryers at one time. So I can get a lot done really fast.
And Lub 7, if I remember correctly, you have a portable washer, I believe. I'm not sure if it's a dryer, but yeah. Getting some of that beautiful electric guitar voice. Oh, that's okay. That means we're
not
more
so
ideal. More internet snafus here. Laundromats, they're on site, so we're not going off site to do laundry. There are washing machines typically on site at a lot of RV
at the
parks,
campgrounds.
At the campgrounds, some will take quarters, some will use like apps, and some will have like digital payment systems where you can use like credit cards and things like that.
But it's really, really easy, which is nice.
Good question. Do we keep up with other full-timers? Definitely. Yeah, we definitely do. We probably binge watch YouTube probably as much, if not more, probably than you guys. We love YouTube. We watch YouTube on our TV. And it's how we learn pretty much everything. Not everything. Gosh,
it's the way we learn a lot about RV life.
Yeah, we learn a lot from
so
comments and
there's so much good content out there. I think we could probably name a dozen. We like a lot of full-time RVers. We like to watch a lot of the full-time travelers just in general. I absolutely love the RV Odd Couple because they make me like laugh really, really hard. So we have a bunch of favorites.
And Glam Dockers, who was at our Sedona campground. they're the ones that flip their razor. They're awesome, and we love them. And we're hoping to meet up with them in the future at a future campground soon.
Yep.
So
Mike Madden asked, how do we get mail?
That's a great question.
So most campgrounds you can get mail too. So if we're going to be somewhere for a little over a week and we need something that we can't buy locally, we can even get Amazon that's literally been delivered to our door, and they have rang the doorbell on our RV, which is crazy and hilarious.
If it's something very specific, then we'll have to have it shipped to one of our like relatives' house, like very, very specific, because we all have these like unique things that we love, but they don't exactly ship either on time, or they come from like small suppliers. So they're like, oh, we'll have it to you next week, and it takes like 3 weeks. For those things, we have them shipped to family members or friends, and then they put together a care package for us, and then they will ship it like 2-day, 3-day air to a campground that either we're at or we're going to be at.
Yeah.
Because most of the campgrounds will hold your mail for you. It's probably almost all of them, really. I haven't found one that hasn't. So that is probably how we get packages and mail. They just bundle everything up for us, and then they send us one care package. We probably get one a month, one every other. Yeah, probably one a month.
Right. And then we also have it set up with USPS so that they send you like an email that shows you the pictures of mail that's coming in. So like if we know we're looking for something specific, we'll let either my mom or dad know, because we usually ship it to their houses, what it is that we're looking for, and ask them to open it for us if it's anything that's like time sensitive. So mail has actually been a lot easier than we expected it to be.
Yeah, Chris, max speed on the Airstream down the interstate, clear, dry roads. Realistically, not lying, probably 70. In perfect conditions, other conditions, probably 55. I would say probably 55 to 70. Really.
Conditions of the road would also have to be flat.
Yeah.
Like right now, we were in Joshua Tree just this morning.
Yeah.
And the speed limit on their roads were like 65.
Oh, there's
which felt really weird because they were very hilly. And so
they're like this, and it's 65 speed limit, and I'm doing 50 tops. Yeah. So you kind of have to go with the feel. If you feel it moving a lot or the road is uneven, slow down. Like it doesn't really, I look at the speed limit to know what my max is, but other than that, I just drive at the speed that's most comfortable, you know? And
that's fair.
And sometimes it's too slow and people are passing me, but I just figure at least I'm getting there safely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. And that happens often.
Okay, Poppy's Tube asks, best question, have you ran into shady people that gave you pause? Hopefully not. Thankfully, we really haven't. Yeah. I think that anytime you're camping, it's important to trust your gut on where you're staying. So one of the things when we're boondocking is that we make sure that we're staying at a campground that's relatively close first, so we can drop off our Airstream and go scout places out. We have been to boondocking places where we scouted it and we were like, we just don't really feel good about this. Not really because of necessarily just people, also like felt really close to the road or just like a lot of different things. So I think that it's just really important, like anything in life when you travel, trust your gut. But from a standpoint of people who've made us feel like uncomfortable, we really haven't had that. Campers are basically the nicest, most wonderful people we've ever met so far.
Honestly, and even boondocking, Glamp Dockers boondocks what 80-90% of the time, I think, and they haven't had any issues, and they've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah, because we asked them that same question.
Like we assumed that if you're boondocking, you may run into shadier people. That was incorrect. It was an incorrect assessment. The fact of the matter is, it's not true. They told us that they've never had any issues. So, and again, I mean, like there are the once-off things that you're going to hear about, and it is what it is, you know?
Well, 2% of the population is clinically insane, right?
Crazy, right? So,
you're probably going to get some of that, but we haven't run into them. So
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Brian Powers asked, how do we keep the exterior of the Airstream
That's a good question.
So we're kind of bad at this, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you this because I can be sort of OCD about keeping it clean. The first thing I did was I bought like all the brushes and you know all the supplies, and then I went to a campground and I hooked up the water supply, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing? You can't wash your Airstream here." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? There's a hose here." So, and they were like, "No, you need a permit." And what I didn't realize is that, like in Tennessee, at this particular campground, you needed a permit, a water permit, which you can buy from the campground. But then I realized that certain campgrounds have certain rules. like I think we're in El Paso, or I'm not trying to think of where we were, but they are basically, they have what they would consider like a water shortage. So they were like, well, you can't use anything, or you can sprinkle some in a bucket and use that. So every campground is going to have, in state, is going to have their own rules.
Yeah.
That made it kind of a pain because we're just busy, honestly. So what we'll typically do is when we're dropping the Airstream off for little service things, like tiny little things, right? We'll just ask them like, hey, like, what's the cost to wash it? And we'll just get it washed at the Airstream dealership. I think the cost was probably like $120 to get it washed.
They do it by feet, so it's like X number of dollars per feet. Right. For us, we thought it was pretty affordable, especially considering we have full-time jobs and have a lot of work to get done in addition to traveling full-time and being on the road. So we haven't actually washed our Airstream ourselves, which we're a little embarrassed to say.
We haven't. What we did do when we picked up the Airstream is we put a ceramic coating on this so that it would stay cleaner longer. That wasn't cheap, but we did it on the front end so that, because we just knew we weren't going to be getting cleaned as often, because we're just moving all the time. And we've heard that you don't go to like truck wash stations because, I don't know. I don't necessarily know the reason behind it, but the reality is people scared us from going to truck wash stations, and we basically just drop out of the dealership every few months for $100, $125 or whatever it is, and they clean it for us.
Yep. Truth.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael now asks, you say you don't shop at Walmart, but you shop at Amazon. Care to explain why yes to one and no the other? Okay, this is a very complicated topic.
We created a tiered system, though. That was kind of the Wander Local version. The reality is that sometimes there's something so unique, you can't find it. Like, you can't find it at a local camping store, or you can find it at a local store. For those things, we'll have to have... be a perfect example of when we use Amazon. After Texas freeze, if you wanted to buy anything that held gas, forget, you were just out of luck. And we literally had nothing. And when the freeze hit, we ran to the stores. We were trying to buy like 5-gallon gas cans, and they were like,
which we would have bought from anywhere.
Like anywhere. Yeah, like we just need 5. And everybody was like, oh man, like those sold out hours ago, and even yesterday. And we were desperate. And somebody was like, at a campground, was like, hey, just Amazon, like a gas can. It sounds silly, and that's what we did. And that's what allowed us to fill up some gas cans. So there's just like rare instances when we'll do that. It's not the preferred method. We try always to buy from local places. Always, always, always. We try to camp at local campgrounds and so on. We do our best. That's what I tell everybody. Like, we do our best.
Well, and then also, although, to be honest with you, our up-to-date knowledge on Walmart and how they practice their business is probably a little out of date. So I can't really speak to that, but we did research it a few years back. And from a standpoint of what it's done to small businesses, it's been really difficult. Not to say that Amazon hasn't done some of those exact same things, but Amazon does work with locally owned businesses in a way that Walmart doesn't. So from that standpoint, that's why when we need something and the only place we can really get it within a reasonable time period is Amazon, we will shop through there. So good question. There's not really, I think the hardest thing, because when we first started this, we were like, let's just shop 100% local. Like, that's going to be awesome. We can do it. And then you run into things that you're like, okay, but we can't actually get a hold of that. And we've actually talked to a lot of local business owners through this journey, especially those who are manufacturing products. And they're like, we would absolutely love to be 100% American made, but unfortunately they don't make XYZ parts in the US anymore. And so we don't have a choice but to source some of that internationally. So it's a really, really complex topic, but
and I didn't know that Walmart has a local product section. That's awesome. Obviously the more, we love all of that. Let's see here. Wow. Okay, so there's a campground in Colorado that kick you out if you have a package delivered. Yikes.
I will say that before we ship packages, we do always call and ask the campground just to make sure. We've never run into one that was like that, but I think that's kind of been a fear of ours, that something like that could happen. So we do call in advance and just double check.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Okay, Ketsy has a good question. Do you guys
yeah.
normally do reservations? And if so, how much do you think you spend a month?
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. Oh, thank you.
Gosh, how much do we spend a month?
So, yes, we normally do reservations, unless we're planning on boondocking. And like I mentioned, when we're boondocking, we try to find a campground where we can stay like 1 or 2 nights, or a harvest host where we can disconnect, go scout the boondocking place, and deal with it that way. But most of the time, especially when we're staying at campgrounds, we are doing reservations. I only typically have them booked out for about 2 weeks. There are other people who are more proactive than me by a lot, which I respect. But that is just not really who we are as travelers. So that's about how long I typically have them booked out for, which can get you in big trouble on weekends like this, like Memorial Day. You really do have to plan in advance. The fact that we're not boondocking this weekend is kind of a small miracle. But from a standpoint of how much we spend, our goal budget is to spend $60 a night as kind of a max. So you can do the math on that at $30 or 30 on average, 30 nights a month. Yeah. So we probably don't spend quite that much because we are trying to do more boondocking. That being said, there are some places where that's a lot more available than others. Now that we're going up the California coast, there's not nearly as many boondocking spots as there were like in New Mexico and Arizona. So that's kind of how we budget for it and think about it. Granted, campgrounds can range all over the board when it comes to nightly stays, especially
crazy, right? I mean, like they're just
you've got free boondocking. You've got, we've stayed in a state park that was $15 a night that had electric and water hookups. But then now that we're in season here in Southern California.
Oh my gosh, didn't we run across one recently that was like over $200?
Yes. Over $200
a night.
A nice hotel and you're bringing your own room. So it can really, really range a lot.
Makes no sense.
I will say if you are more proactive, you can probably camp cheaper than what we do.
Sure.
But because we are always changing how we're doing our schedule, that's how we budgeted at $60 a night and kind of go from there.
That's true. Yeah. Bill, Utah, does the Airstream have a lift kit? It does not. And that is something on our future modification list because we want to do more boondocking. We boondocked in Sedona right out of the factory. Like literally this is just factory height. No lift kit whatsoever, and we had no issues. But Lauren would like to drive to Alaska at some point, and we've been told that it would be very beneficial for us to have a lift kit. So we're looking at potentially doing that in the future.
Truth.
Yeah. Like a 2 or 3 inch lift kit.
Terry and Ron, I don't know what you mean by avoid the pyramid. Do you know what you mean by that?
No.
Okay, we need more details on that one.
Yeah, you have to tell us more about that.
Mike, have we ever stayed the night at a Cracker Barrel or a Walmart? No, we haven't, because we love Harvest Host.
Oh my gosh, it's the best, right?
So the way a lot of people use Walmarts or Cracker Barrels for like free overnight stays, that's how we use Harvest Hosts.
Which is also free.
If you don't know what Harvest Host is, there's an annual membership on it. I think it's under $100 a year. It's very inexpensive, but it has farms, breweries, wineries, all local that you can go and stay the night at. The idea is just that you will be a patron at that venue, whatever it may be. So like when we've gone to a local farm, we've bought fresh orange juice and like homemade jellies and cool stuff like that. We've gone to a lavender farm where we bought lotions and stuff like that. So we love Harvest Host. It does sometimes mean that you're going a little bit further off the beaten track than you would with a Walmart or a Cracker Barrel, but the experience is so wonderful that we think it's worth it every single time.
Oh, we've got a bunch of stuff coming here. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So high pressure water truck washes can blow your panel seams. Got it. Okay. Yeah, we're told just don't go there. We tend to listen when you guys are giving us really good feedback. And if we hear it multiple times, then you definitely know we're not going to do it. W, we've heard about that as well. Staying there for, are you happy with the size of your refrigerator? Elizabeth, great question.
Can a refrigerator ever be too big?
Yes. Yes.
I don't think
when it adds too much weight to your RV, I'm like all about, for the most part, weight reduction, which is why I try to get us a purge as often as we can. Every month or two, we're purging, and we're just like, if we get something, I was thinking in my mind, well, now we have to get rid of something. So we'll typically leave stuff at campgrounds. We do that all the time.
Okay, back to the refrigerator. This is a very important topic to me. So if you guys have been following our channel, y'all know
Oh my gosh.
when we're at home, I cook 100% vegan. So that means that I have a ton of fruits and vegetables, and that I love all of them. And when we went and did our shopping for an RV with my grandfather, that was like the number one thing in other RVs, having that big, huge residential size refrigerator that just like made my eyes like turn into big hearts, like that emoji, because I would love a bigger refrigerator. But to be honest, our refrigerator here is totally functional. There's a time or two that I'm like, oh, I wish I had a little bit more room so I could have more celery juice. But like overall, it really works great and it's very functional. I cook out of here more than I do. Like we eat out maybe a couple times a week, and I'm cooking in the RV when we're not. So there's plenty of space. I can go to the grocery store easily once a week, just like I would have like when we were living back at our home a couple years ago, with no problems. So it's big enough. Could it be bigger? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean everything could be bigger. I mean, there are, you know, I see van lifers with like college dorm size refrigerators getting by, so
we wouldn't be able to function with that.
I mean, maybe. I guess I guess it depends on how much refrigerated food you have, right?
Truth.
At the end of the day.
Truth. Okay, Brandon White 2000 Watson says, what is your favorite Looney Tunes character of all time?
Roadrunner. What's yours?
Oh, I would have known that for you.
That's easy.
I don't know. I don't really think I have one.
Helps to run fast. So yeah, that's
a good question. I'll have to think about that and let you know, because I don't know the answer to that.
Roadrunner. Yeah, and he always got away too.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm seeing a little bit of conversation about the Texas boondocking thing. That's really interesting. I don't know anything about that.
We don't. And we didn't know much about the water situation with Lake Mead and similar places as well. Yeah. What else do we have here?
Okay, are we a member of WBCCI? Some members offer courtesy parking. I know.
I did not know that.
But yes, we are.
We are. And we are number 1436. 1436 is our number. We have yet to apply it. We just got it in, so we're going to apply to the outside of it soon. We're 1436.
We're pretty excited about it.
And we're super excited. And we can't wait to display our numbers when we show up at the rally. Gosh, pretty soon here.
Soon.
A little over a month, right? Month and a half?
Yeah.
That's going to be super exciting.
Okay, so Terry and Ron at Glam Doctors say the pyramid it's created at the bottom of the black tank where pipe dumps the family jewels. Why do RV conversations always come back to poop?
Listen, our last live stream, we talked so much about poop, honestly, and and people were chiming in as the live stream progressed, and they just like jumped into like poop conversations.
I hate the poop conversations. The Southern in me like just can't handle the fact that this has now become a real conversation that I engage with like a normal person.
Faith and Flower, any scary tow stories? Probably the scariest was driving through West Texas. We were on our way from what was that small town called? Really small town.
Marfa.
The Prada. We were on our way from Marfa to Arizona.
Yeah.
El Paso or something like that.
El Paso.
And we hit a windstorm, which apparently only happens a few weeks out of the year in March.
In West Texas.
In West Texas. So if you're looking to travel through West Texas during these particular weeks, apparently they're known for like high wind season. It was gusting at 55 that day, and there were reported gusts up to like 70.
Well, and to be fair, at this point we had already learned that wind was dangerous.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
And we did look in advance. It was not windy when we left, and we got windy about 2.5 hours into our trip.
And there weren't really a lot of rest areas along the way. There's not much between Marfa
middle of nowhere,
and
Texas.
Exactly. So we decided to just keep going, and we were fine. We had our sway hitch, anti-sway hitch.
Anti-sway hitch.
Right.
Which
and it held
great.
up fine.
But what made it a scary situation was, so we have our regular awning that's like our big awning on the passenger side of the truck.
The bottom line is there's awnings all around this thing.
Yeah.
And they all have, some of them have latches. So the wind was so forceful. Yeah, the non-electric. The wind was so forceful that it kind of like rolled underneath and kind of unhooked one of the
it didn't
awnings,
kind of. It definitely unhooked the awning.
and it started to like deploy on the side of the high, or as we were driving down the highway. So I quickly maneuvered off the road, jumped out, relatched the awning. But wind can be, my advice to you is if it's really, really windy, don't drive. The TPMS monitors, we do have those. I monitor them always. I monitor the tires in my truck and also the tires in our Airstream at all times when I'm driving. We have a Vire kit as well. So I make sure that I properly inflate the tires always. And I check the pressure of the tires of every tire, and I also monitor it along every drive, always. If I don't have that
first.
Yes, yeah. I also use a torque wrench on all of my the lug nuts at each campground as well. So that's something I would also recommend. Vire for inflating the tires, tire pressure monitors, and also a torque wrench. Yeah.
Speaking of food and refrigerators, though, Ketsy asked, do we find a lot of vegan places when we travel? So it really just depends on where we are.
That's true.
If it is somewhere that is close to a big city, then yeah, typically we find a lot.
Right.
If it is not close to a big city, there can be a full-on vegan food drought. But that being said, what we typically, I love to cook. I'm actually in the process of doing an online cooking course to become a vegan chef.
Yeah.
So we do cook a ton in the Airstream. But what I tell people all the time when they're like, how on earth do you eat like anywhere? Is that for most places that you go, you can look online, you can find something and talk to your waiter, and they're more than happy to help and work with the chef in the back to find you something to eat. So sometimes they cook me weird stuff that is not on the menu so that I can still, abide by the food structures that I like to. But overall, I think I make better food at home anyway.
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, when we're traveling, we have there's a Mexican restaurant in, literally every city I think on the planet at this point. Like literally everywhere we've been, there's a Mexican restaurant, right? So that's one of our go-tos, as well as
I love veggie fajitas.
Yeah. So we do like vegetable fajitas and things like that. So
those
are our go-tos. Winds of 30 miles an hour and higher, I would avoid driving. That's probably smart. Aaron, you drive semis, and I know there's a couple of you that have driven semis or drive semis. We saw a semi flipped over on the side of the highway, on the side of the road when we were driving that day, and literally as we were driving, a semi came by, and it looked like he was like leaning to one side, and I thought, oh my god, like he's literally gonna fall over. So you're not wrong.
Less than ideal.
Yeah, if it's super windy, don't do what we did.
Oh, and he said, did you get to check out the Windy app yet?
Yes, love the Windy app. Love it. Use that all the time. Wish I had it in West Texas. Did not. I also use the Windy app now when I'm flying my drone as well, because wind conditions if it gets over 30, the drone gets a little crazy up there. So
yeah, that's totally true.
It's a very, very great tool, the Windy app.
Okay, so James asks, when are we coming to Boise?
That's a good question. I don't know. We have a trajectory. You just never know, right? Like we have to get to Tennessee. So we're gonna trek across like 6 states in a row, and it's gonna be like fast and furious across those states. And then we're getting to Tennessee, and then from there we're gonna go potentially gonna go to the factory.
The Airstream
factory. More details coming soon about that. But beyond that, we have to go to Chicago and New York, and it's hard to say. I don't know. Yeah, but if you have places in Boise that you think we should visit, please let us know.
We have a spreadsheet, and it's getting really big and really fun and really exciting.
Yeah, Aaron, so a light unloaded semi. That's probably what it is. Literally the semi came by, and I literally was like, I thought I was going to tilt over. It was pretty well. I was like, jeez. Yeah.
All right, so let's see. So we've talked about a bunch of stuff. Well, one of the questions that we get super often is about how we get internet. And as you guys can see, that's not going as well as it normally does this evening. But we really actually love our internet setup. For the most part, it works awesome, but it is still reliant on cell phones or mobile signal. So we have Verizon for our cell phones. And we have strong hotspots on those, which are great. And then also we use Bix Wireless for our main internet source, which is actually how I upload video from the Airstream, because we used to not be able to do that. So that is an AT&T system. The reason that we went with AT&T instead of Verizon, because Bix does offer a Verizon solution as well, is when we were trying to go through the process of figuring out how to be able to get internet that would be strong enough for me to upload video here in the Airstream and function on calls like this, we first went directly to the carriers of Verizon and AT&T. And so when we did that, we needed a router that would allow us to put their SIM cards in there. So we had already made an investment in a router. So if you go with a Verizon system that's unlimited, like what we have at Bix, you have to get their router. Because we already had made that investment, we decided to go with AT&T and have been really, 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 really happy with it. Usually when it isn't ideal on a day like today, honestly, neither our AT&T or our Verizon system work great.
Well,
because
no
it's
cellular
based on
it's like a
cellular service.
Black hole.
So like just a couple minutes ago when we tried to flip over to our other solution, it was our Verizon hotspots, and that worked even worse than our AT&T setup. So that kind of speaks to how the systems work and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you have an internet provider and they're throttling you and you're hitting those like data walls or those data limits, I was infuriated because we work on the road and we can't deal with any of that crap. So we talked to Steve over at Bix Wireless, and he hooked us up with a card that's unlimited. Literally, there's no limits. Lauren uploads a crap load of video content and drone footage and GoPro footage. And I mean, we're like constantly uploading and downloading. We stream everything.
Yeah.
We've got Google Homes here and Apple TVs and, you know, smart TVs. And so we're constantly streaming, and we have never, ever hit a limit. So for that, the Bix Wireless cards are awesome. Yeah.
It's worked out really, really
It
great.
really has. Yeah.
So it's not perfect, but I don't think any system really is.
No.
Which is why, of course, like Daniel has talked about before, when there's a satellite solution to do internet, like Starlink as well, we'll eventually use that as our third solution. So we never have a day where, you know, our video is a little bit grainy or whatever because we're in somewhere without great service. But yeah.
I think it's kind of like RVs, right? Like there are RVs that are, everybody has a unique preference. And the same applies to internet. Although our requirements are much greater than most people, so we need to be connected at all times. For that reason, we needed the ability to constantly upload and download at all times, and we need to reach internet signal at all times. So that's why we've signed up for the beta program for Starlink. So we have like Verizon, AT&T, Starlink, like literally just anything that we can get our hands on to access internet.
Just because we're such massively heavy internet users. Like I think somebody mentioned earlier in the comments, like usually as an RV life person, you don't need to have amazing internet except when you're doing a live. So a lot of the RV full-timers, they do lives like back at their home. They're not like on the road. They're like sometimes if we're back at obviously but off day like today when we knew we wanted to do one and we knew we were going to be close to San Diego, but we only got here a couple hours ago, kept our fingers crossed, and it's not ideal. So just kind of have to go with the flow when that happens.
You have to. Yeah, I mean, we hit a campground in Sedona that had no internet, no anything, really. No cellular service, no internet, no anything, and we just moved campgrounds. So unfortunately, we just got here a few hours ago and couldn't test the internet, so we do apologize.
It'll be better next time, we pinky promise.
Yeah.
Okay, Ron and Terry asked, on rainy days, do we ever get cabin fever?
As long as there's Netflix, there's no cabin fever, honestly. We're sci-fi nerds. We watch a lot of sci-fi shows.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot.
And YouTube?
And YouTube. Yeah, Netflix, YouTube. No, we're good. Yeah, no, and we
like board games too. So on rainy days, we like to get out.
We're Rummy Cube. We're playing Rummy Cube. We're playing Rummy Cube and Machi Koro. That's another one of our games. Awesome if you haven't played it yet.
And when I can talk Daniel into it, I like playing Yahtzee, but he doesn't like playing with me.
I will not play Yahtzee. No. You would not want to play Yahtzee with her either if the person you're playing against just kept continually throwing Yahtzees.
Not every time, but I get pretty lucky.
It's just not even, it's not even fair. Yeah, let's see. Windows are the best for Airstream signals. Okay.
We did actually put our router over here by the window right before we started.
Yeah, Bill, I want you to see this. This is actually what we use right here. This is a Pepwave Max Transit Duo. This is what they use commercially on like buses and things like that. Yeah, so this thing is a monster. It has 4 SIM card slots. We did not need 4 SIM cards, but we didn't know at the time, and somebody recommended this to us. So the only advice I'll give you if you do end up getting one of these Max Transit Duos is that they do heat up, especially if you're uploading large files.
Well, and especially if it's summer, it's hot. You don't have an AC. Like we don't love to run the AC units. We would rather open up the windows and enjoy the fresh air because that's, you know, the beauty of camping when we're working. So sometimes we do put our router. We've got like little ice packs that we'll put on top of it so that it doesn't overheat because it definitely gets warm in here.
And Aaron, yes, The Expanse is an amazing show, and we're addicted to it as well. Love that show.
Yep.
Yeah. Every time the season comes out, we're just like binge watching The Expanse. Love that show.
Yeah, truth. Okay, so another question that we get a lot about is what do you like least about RV life, and what do you like most about RV life?
Least. What do you like least?
Well, one of the things that I would have said maybe 3 months ago or so would be my least favorite thing about RV life would be showers. But what I have now learned is that showers just kind of suck in the winter when it's really cold because it's hard for your hot water heater to do that much work. But in the summer, spring, summer, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for fall, when it's not so freaking cold outside, your hot water works awesome. So now my showers can be long and hot as long as we're at a campground, and I don't dread them anymore. So that's kind of wonderful.
My least and most are connected. Right. So today we got up at 4 a.m. and I can't wait to show you guys the Joshua Tree video. It'll be coming soon, but we got up at 4 a.m. to catch the sunrise. It also means that we've been up since 4 a.m. and this is also a travel day. So I'm just exhausted. So what I like least is that I wish there were days when I can just like, you know, teleport the entire like rig to our next location.
Truth.
But what I love, conversely, is transporting the rig between cities, because some of my favorite cities have been in between the bigger cities. And you wouldn't have ever purposefully gone to some of these cities unless you were driving your rig from one big city to another. So there are days when I'm just tired and I wish I could just teleport there, but it's also what I love most about this journey. It's those small town, like that's a small town feel you get and uniqueness, I think, from some of those rural areas. It's really some of the best parts of really the country. They're just towns you would never typically stop at, and they've been some of our favorites.
Yeah, because you get to just see so many unique and different things.
Okay,
so then I think my favorite at the end of the day is the fact it's kind of tied to what yours is, but my favorite thing is that we still get to come back home at the end of the day and travel. Because if you guys have been following our story, you know that we're not new to being nomads. About 2 years ago, we sold everything that we own and started traveling full time. Every 2 years, we sold everything January of 2019.
2.5 years. We're getting there.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while. We've been nomads for a while, or gypsies, or whatever you want to say. So we were living in hotels and Airbnbs for the first portion of that experience, and we were living out of international suitcases and a backpack. That's all Daniel and I both had, and we loved living that way. But now that we've experienced RV life, we've of course had to travel for work, and you know, we're back to our backpacks and our international suitcases, and now we're like, traveling like that is not as fun as traveling in an RV. And the reason that I say that is twofold. First, packing sucks. Everybody knows packing sucks. So when you're
especially
traveling,
when you have to pack everything you own into 2 suitcases. I mean, we literally traveled the world with 2 suitcases because that's all we owned. We sold everything that we owned. And there are times when you wish you had certain things, you know?
Totally. And with the RV, like, A, we're always packed, and B, we get to have more stuff. And not that that's always a Like, we definitely would consider ourselves minimalist. We have places in the
Yeah.
Airstream that don't have anything in them. So we could technically have more stuff, I guess. But all of your things, like the things that make it feel like home, you get to bring with you.
Yeah.
So there's a real comfort that I think is nice about that. That's really different from the way we had traveled before. And so it's kind of my favorite part about it.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, there's so many little things. Like, I love that we have a drone with us at all times. Like, there are places we go to and I'm like, I wonder what it looks like from above. And I basically just take the drone up and look around, like Pano 360, which is cool.
Truth.
Yeah.
Okay, Ketsy has a question. She says, are you planning on having kids? If so, what RV would you be getting next to be bigger, and will you stay with an Airstream?
Wow, I mean, there's really only one size that's bigger than this, and it's only 3 feet bigger. That's a 33-foot Classic that just has a really big bathroom in the back.
Yeah, so it wouldn't really be conducive to being larger for a family.
Yeah.
So, yes, we are planning on having kids, and we foresee that probably happening in the RV because we're not getting any younger. I am 32, and Daniel is 44.
44 years young.
44 years young, of course, but there is a time limit on having kids, so that is something that we plan on doing. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations about this. I think that especially when they're little, it wouldn't be that hard to have them here in our Airstream as it stands, but we've never been parents before. And obviously everyone who thinks they're going to be a parent thinks that it's having a kid is not going to change their lives and it's just going to fit right into exactly what you're doing. Yeah. And you know everything that's going to happen. So we have no idea.
We're open-minded. Like,
yes.
Legitimately, when we went RV shopping with our grandfather the other day, that was the first time we'd seen a lot of those campers ever. You know, Airstream was always it for us because, you know, I just always loved seeing them as kids and I was just enamored by them when I saw them driving down the road. Mm-hmm. So that for us was always, that was going to be it. But down the road, I mean, we're not married to any brand or manufacturer or anything. We'll always do what's best for us, as everybody should do. So when the time comes, we'll, you know, evaluate the situation and go from there, honestly. Yeah. But in the time being, I mean, we sometimes look at this 30-footer and we think this is plenty of space for us, almost too much space, and we could probably go downsize a little bit. So you just never know.
Yep. Real.
Yeah.
We know that there are other families out there who are living in an Airstream with multiple children, and they make it work. So maybe we will.
Oh my gosh! I mean, honestly, like I think we've seen families of like 6 pop out of a tiny camper, and we're like, where are they coming from? Like literally, like every time you turn around, there's like another kid popping out of a camper, you know, and then there's like 2 dogs, right? You're like, there's 8 people in that tiny little camper. People do it, and I think to myself, how cool must it be for those kids? And maybe I'm wrong, but to like grow up in that sort of environment where they're traveling and seeing, experiencing new things all the time. I mean, that is probably just cool, you know?
Well, and Aaron says a 5th wheel with a bunk room. Those bunk room things are freaking cool. We saw it in both a 5th wheel recently and then also a Class A. Yeah. So there are so many amazing options. Yeah. And I think, you know, we'll just see what happens.
And that's
when the time
a great
comes.
Point. There actually is a bunk model of Airstream. So Airstream,
really?
Yeah. So Airstream actually does have a bunk model. So I mean, there's lots of options.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when the time comes, we'll evaluate, like we talked about.
Oh, look, Michael says check out the YouTubers Luke and Alicia. They just had a baby girl in the still RV. They're beautiful to watch. Okay, we're gonna have to Google them because I have not seen them.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, that's pretty much it. Like it's so cool to see families, and they just look like they're just so tight knit, you know. And I think that's probably one of my favorite things. I mean, they're just, I don't know, it's really, really cool when you see like all these families traveling in campers, and they're just like look like they're having the best time ever.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not like that all the time, but we're just outside perspective, I would say.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Get crazy inside. Though.
Another question that we have gotten multiple times about RV life day to day is why didn't we use the solar during our freezing in Texas experience? So Daniel, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. We that Texas video, all I'm gonna say is in our defense, there's nothing we can say in our defense.
In our defense, no.
Yeah, no. I think the cold lowered our cognitive abilities during the cold,
and we made some really silly mistakes that we shouldn't have. But the reason the solar did not work is because, as it was so appropriately pointed out by our neighbor, hey man, your solar panels are never going to charge if they're covered in snow. And I grew up in Florida, and yes, we have solar panels in Florida, but have they ever been covered up in snow to the point where they won't charge, thus charging your batteries? No. So I did not pick up on the fact that if there's a ton of snow on your solar panels, he was so nice. He's like, you can borrow my ladder and get up there and like wipe off the snow off of your solar panels so that the batteries will charge. Again, fellow campers
are the best.
I think
at the end of the day, like now that we go back, if we go back and watch, we probably should go back and watch the Texas Freeze video, because I don't think we've actually watched it since it was published, which is always terrifying, because when you go back and watch your videos from like months past, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so bad. How did we not know that? Or how did we not do this? We should do that little
what's that, like what they showed when you walk through a video, an old video, and then you like comment on it, kind of like that old the old TV show with the guy and the two robots, and they would like review sci-fi movies and things like that. We could do that with some of our old videos, and it would be hilarious, because we've done some super stupid things.
I feel like I like not remembering, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all of it makes sense afterwards, right? Like not traveling with 5-gallon gas cans makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, when the freeze hit, we went out everywhere looking for gas cans. They were sold out. Everybody had the same idea. Like literally every store, they were like, you want gas cans?
That's funny.
Good luck, my friend. And that's basically what they were telling us. So we couldn't even fill up gas cans. Science theater. That's it, Heath. Exactly. I used to love that.
Okay, so YouTube Car Spotter's Guide. Do we have any pets? We do not have any pets as it stands right now. When Daniel and I met, we actually met because I tripped over his dog named Chance.
Little long-haired Dotson.
And he was the cutest. We lost him a couple of years before we went full-time travel, but then I had my dog Bella. And when we started traveling full-time, when we went to some places, she just absolutely loved it. And then other places she hated and would not eat for weeks. And so we felt horrible about it. We talked to my mom and we were like, would you be interested in keeping Bella for a little while? See if it kind of evens her out with like us traveling. And she moved in with my mom and never looked back. Like now, when we were in South Carolina, we stayed with my family, and my mom brought our dog Bella, and she's just like, "Oh, hey guys, it's nice to see you." But my mommy is in the other room, so I have to go. So she's moved on. She's moved on. Yeah, but we miss her for sure and love dogs.
I've always heard like cats will move on, like they're just like, "You're my servant." But our dog moved on.
Her dog moved on
to her mom.
Sad,
and she has a much better life. I mean, she is living the retirement life, and she gets 2 to 3 meals a day.
Too well.
And seriously, like she's not ready for this RV life at all. I think if we did get a dog, we'd have to get a dog that we can run with.
Yeah,
because we enjoy running and trail running and things like that. So,
but we're trying to bite off.
Legs are too tiny,
too small. Yeah, we're always biting off more than we probably should chew. So we are gonna wait a little while on getting a dog. Just kind of see how the kid conversation goes. So that's the thing.
We'll see. You Car Spotter Guide, Mike is your name. Boom, banked that. Elizabeth,
it's a pleasure to meet you.
The Texas Freeze, super set. Yeah, and we super got our butts handed to us. As we're often reminded from the comments, we made so many mistakes, but we learned so much during the Texas Freeze. We learned so much.
Well, I think that the unfortunate part about the Texas Freeze was that we were so new to our rig. Because that's one of the things that we talk to newbie RVers about all the time. Like, to make your RV experience as enjoyable as possible, get to know your rig before you like go off on a gajillion mile trip.
True.
It's great to, if you have the ability to just park it at your house and like get to know it, like stay a few nights in your driveway. Yeah. Awesome. If it's taking it to a campground that's local so that you're not that far away, all of those things would come highly recommended. We didn't do any of that. So we just didn't know our rig well enough, and then found ourselves in kind of a sticky situation.
We didn't. And there's like a heating system on here, and we just assumed that because you had propane, you could heat the whole rig, and you can with such little power. Unfortunately, as we talked about with the solar panels, we couldn't charge our batteries from solar at all. They were just like dead. So not even a heating system would power because that's also electronic.
It doesn't need much power, but it still needs some. So that was the thing.
Yeah, and driveway camping, which is I've heard it's called mooch docking. We definitely are gonna be doing that in Tennessee as we visit some friends in Tennessee, and that's gonna be super exciting. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, so Bill asks, are there times you wish for a slightly smaller rig, like a 25 foot? So we have a video where we stayed in a 25 foot.
And we compared it from a size perspective.
Loved the size.
Loved it.
For sure.
Yeah, love the 25. I think for me, 25 to 30 is really, anything from 25 to 30 is a win for me, honestly. Like I would love any size from 25 to 30.
Well, for full-time living.
For full-time living, right. For if we were just going out on weekends, we've talked about this before, we'd probably get a base camp because it has like the panoramic windows and it's super tiny. We kind of love the base camp for just weekends.
Well, and especially because when you're camping, I mean, when you've got a larger RV, it's just more tempting to stay inside. And if you're staying inside, you're doing the same things you typically would be doing if you were back home. And so, like Daniel was talking about, Netflix or whatever else. It's cool on a rainy day, but that's not really the purpose of living this lifestyle. It's, at least for us, we want to be out in nature more and spending more time outside. So to have a smaller RV would obviously inspire some of that.
There's probably there are places that I look at and I'm thinking, if I had like a tiny little base camp, like we're going, like we're going off-roading and we're gonna get to that crazy spot. But with like a 30-footer, I'm like, what is the flattest surface we can drive on? Off-road. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I think I would tend to be more adventurous. Like I'd probably camp us on like cliffs and crazy places with something really, really small. So there's like pros and cons to both. But yet, conversely, in a 30-foot, you have so much space. I mean, so much space. Caesar, my friend, mi amigo.
Hello.
Love you too. Oh my gosh.
Tony,
welcome.
Yes, we are having weaker internet signal. We are just outside of San Diego this weekend. Yes, it's Sunday. And our internet is not working great. So unfortunately, we don't have great mobile service out here today with our Verizon or our AT&T system, but we're going with the flow and hanging out and answering y'all's questions anyway.
It is not your computer. It is our feed today, unfortunately. This is why occasionally we will bump the live stream from bi-weekly to like maybe every 3 weeks. If we're at a spot where there's no cellular, no anything, no campground, we'll typically push it back a week, but that is the only reason.
Truth. But we assumed, and obviously wrongly so, that being this close to San Diego would mean we would have great cellular service, but it's not true. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us anyway, though.
Eric Estrada, yes. That's right, my friend. Eric Estrada.
Okay, so another question that we get super commonly asked is, and it's back to that size question. Why did we go with the 30-foot Airstream Classic over the 33? Because those are the two sizes that the Airstream Classic comes in.
Such a debate, even for people that have Airstreams already. Why did we go for the 30 versus 33 foot? Originally, Lauren opted for the 33. She loved it. She was like, the bathroom, it's amazing.
Well, not only the bathroom, it also has...
The shower's huge. And
the shower's huge. The bathroom is big. It's the whole back of the Airstream is the bathroom. And it also has another little like separate desk working space, like where the TV is at. It's got like a theater style TV. It has a little desk space that would be great.
TV that pops down.
And I loved all of that. But then someone told us that if you wanted to camp in state parks and national parks, being anything over 30 feet would make it difficult. And what we've learned since then is sometimes even from a 30-foot perspective is still too big.
Right.
So that was our major decision factor.
Eliminating the state parks and campground sizing issue, why would you choose 30 now over 33? Or
Oh, well, now just because we
Would
feel
you-
like the 30-foot is even still now more space than what just Daniel and I need.
true. Yeah.
I love the 30-foot because of the space in the kitchen. I don't think I would really want to live full time anything in the
Yeah.
kitchen smaller than what we have because I love to cook so much. So that would be a thing.
It's easy. Yep. Mike, you absolutely nailed it. The rear bedroom, the panoramic windows, you guys talk about all of that stuff. I mean, literally, that has been clutch, and that is probably the main reason I would go with a 30.
Well, it
There-
has more windows as a whole. than
It
the
has more
33
windows.
does.
So we looked at the manual for all the Airstreams, and we knew that we just wanted lots of natural light.
Yeah,
And the 30-foot Classic has like, it's a
I think there are
ton.
19 windows on our Airstream.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so much natural light that pours in here, and it's amazing.
But
And that rear,
that has its drawbacks too, though. Like now that it's
Oh,
getting
well,
warmer and
sure,
it's summer,
yeah.
like you guys see our windows in the back open, but all of the rest of the windows are
Right.
shut because we
get
want
hot.
to keep it cooler in here. And if we had on both of our AC units, you guys would be able to hear that, and it would be kind of obnoxious.
Right.
So all of the windows do have some drawbacks, but that was one of the things that we noticed when we
Yeah.
did our RV shopping video recently was that a lot of like the fifth wheels and the other
The
RVs
Class
that we
A's
looked
even.
at
tiny,
didn't have
tiny.
nearly as many windows and like
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, some
natural
of them
light
had
coming in.
like the bedrooms had like tiny little windows with very little natural light. For us, natural light is probably the biggest draw. We have seen some fifth wheels that had like floor to ceiling glass, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we've only seen that once in our journeys
Yeah,
across
that was with the
19
pop out or
states.
whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And honestly, the rear bedroom, there's something to be said about like waking up and popping your windows open and seeing nature. There was a place where we're at the caverns, I think, in Texas, and we popped the windows open, and there were like horses, literally like 5 feet away from the rear
So
window,
cool.
right behind the fence, like sitting there. And there are just so many things that we've seen because we just wake up in the morning, we pop the windows open, and we just continue to lay in bed
Yeah.
and just admire the view.
So pretty.
Panoramic windows for the bed is
Really nice.
huge.
Especially when you're like, obviously we don't necessarily
Yeah.
open them when we're in like a campground that has like close proximity to other RVs because y'all know that that's a thing. But especially when we're
Yeah.
out boondocking or at a Harvest Host or somewhere a little more remote, we love like leaving them open and it's beautiful.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh, that's so true.
cool. Okay, so Kirk asks,
Yeah.
will we be getting any grilling content and recipes on you guys' adventures?
Little known fact.
to do that.
Little known fact. Before we had switched over to vegetarian and vegan, I was the grill master. Like legitimately, I've been grilling outdoors my entire life. My mom owned the kitchen, and I owned everything outdoors. And I've had turkey fryers and la cachinas, like cooking boxes and smokers, and I've been doing meats and things like that outdoors most of my life. So much so that I used to have like parties and invite tons of people over.
So I guess that means you need to learn how to do that for vegetarian cooking.
Exactly. And that is, but okay, again, so I used to make like I'll have to do that. We'll have to do that.
He's
Yeah, I used to
just
make like,
spoiled because I love to cook so much and I don't really know much about grilling outside that we don't have a whole lot of outdoor grilling equipment. So we'll have to work on that because when we camped with some
Yeah.
friends in Tennessee, they had this really amazing cast iron pot that we like put over the fire. And we made
Oh,
this
it was-
amazing vegan chili. And it was so good.
they put some like a cornbread topping on it,
Yeah,
and it was
awesome.
amazing.
So we need to do
yeah,
more of that. It's a good point.
Yeah, and I
Put
could
that on
still
the
make some
list.
burgers and some
Yeah,
and I
real.
can make meats for other people when they come over, I guess.
Okay, so Michael
Yeah.
asked, do they make the Airstream with tinted windows like you see in a Class A, or can they be tinted? Would you tint them? Do you know the answer to that?
I don't.
I don't know the answer to that either.
I know that during the day it's very hard to see inside. Somebody else with an Airstream would be able to answer that. That's probably on here. I don't know if the windows come naturally tinted, but during the day you can't see inside, and at night you can see everything. So
Yeah, so we don't know the answer to that, but it's a good thing for us to look into for sure.
that is a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you keep? So Audrey asked, do you have trouble keeping the Airstream decluttered?
Okay, so if you've
That's a
ever
great
lived
question.
in a tiny space, you know that it gets messy so
It does.
quickly.
It does.
It's insane. So
yeah.
organizing and decluttering are like crazy level critical
Yeah.
to ensure you're not constantly just living in stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So we like to declutter at least like once a month, and we have a rule, like Daniel mentioned earlier. I think like if you bring one
Sure.
thing in, you have to get something out.
Yeah.
We have these really cool bins that fit into most of the cabinetry in the
Right.
Airstream, and like
Things organized.
yeah, we keep
right?
them really organized, and we both
Yeah.
know like this is Daniel's set of cabinets, and he's going to keep these organized. So, for example, like our camera equipment,
I organize all the tech.
there's
OCD.
a small bin for all of our Osmo stuff. There's another bin for our live streams where we've got other stuff that are
All of it.
associated with that. There's a section where he's got his drone stuff.
Yeah.
So we try to stay
All
super,
organized.
super organized from that perspective so that it's easy and quick to put things away. Because if you don't put them away when you get them out after you're done using them, this place gets crazy. Are we perfect at it? No. I think I'm better at it than Daniel is. But what wife
Yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah.
So it's just a constant thing. We do a lot of like, picking up here and there, but
I think like you're gonna have your own OCD things, right? So for me, you're living in an outdoor, so you're naturally gonna attract things from the outdoors. For me, I hate like stepping on little tiny like rocks or pebbles inside. So I have a shop vac, and I'm constantly like vacuuming the interior.
he
with my shop
literally
vac. I
will
love my shop vac.
vacuum
Yeah,
every other day
I will.
because he hates the things.
If
on
I
the
walk
floor.
around here and I step on a tiny little pebble, I'm like shop vacuuming the whole thing, and that just makes me happy because.
But yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, Ivan, great question. How much longer will you guys RV?
It's currently an unlimited timeline.
It's unlimited. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Our original idea of doing this for just 365 days has officially been tossed out the window. We love it.
Honestly.
And don't plan on changing it anytime soon.
Yeah, honestly, it's funny that you asked that because literally yesterday I said, Lauren, if you could like settle down anywhere, where would you settle down? And she was like, I can't pick.
Yeah.
And really, we're at that point where we couldn't decide on any one spot. So for us, the fact that we can move, whenever we want to, is the greatest freedom of all, I think.
Yeah. It's wonderful. We love it.
Yeah,
So we're definitely not going to be changing it anytime soon.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tony, I
Yeah.
love your tip about dishes. So he says, a small tip to help with dishes. My wife and I have been
Yeah.
doing this since
Yeah.
another traveler's tough.
Yeah.
It's been great for us. We use basket paper.
Oh,
What's
okay,
basket
got it.
paper?
Like when you get the baskets at a restaurant and it comes with like the paper in it.
Okay.
Oh,
that makes
that's pretty
perfect
cool.
sense.
Okay, I like that.
Smart.
That's
we
really,
can
really
use all
smart.
the tips. I feel like
I love
living
that.
RV life
Yeah.
because you do not. Oh, that would be one thing that I
That's a
miss
really
about
good
real
one.
life is a dishwasher because we are constantly hand washing dishes. So that's a good idea about the basket paper. We need to definitely get some of that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
smart.
But I like the basket idea. That's pretty cool.
So Faith said that
Oh.
Airstream windows do come tinted.
Okay.
So that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and Michael, my oatmeal in the Lake Mead video looks delicious. Oh my gosh, that is my favorite, like go-to. It looks like a so if you haven't seen our Lake Mead video
Yeah.
yet,
Yeah.
Mitchell, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen our Lake Mead video yet, I make my favorite berry nut oatmeal, and it's
Yeah.
so easy, but it looks super gourmet and it's wonderful. So that you got to check it out. It's wonderful. All right. We'd love to see an organization
Good tip,
video.
Bill.
We should do that. I'll put that on our list.
What's that? With that a Roomba? Is there even enough? Is there even enough space here for a Roomba? Because if I could have a Roomba going around here at all times, I'm in. Like, that would save me from having to get the shop vac out like every other day. Because every other day we talked about like a
I
tiny
feel like I'd trip over it. 100 pounds.
a Roomba vacuum in here.
That would be
Oh
so
my
funny.
gosh, it'd be pretty funny.
I feel like that's like a nightmare waiting to happen. A Roomba in a space this small.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Here we go. Where is our home base?
That's a really interesting question because we just recently changed it.
We did. Home base is wherever our insurance is the cheapest. If I'm being honest with you.
So one of the things, so I have, but my
Right.
mother lives in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And my dad lives in Tampa, Florida, St. Pete, Florida. So when we were traveling internationally, we were sharing a condo with my dad because he also travels full time with his job pre-pandemic. And so we would just share that condo. And when we came back, we would stay there. When he came back, he would stay there. And that worked out great. So we were using that as our home base. now that we've been full-time RV lifing it, and he's in town less than my mother is. And we mentioned previously that care packages are a thing and mail getting to us and being convenient. We decided that since my mom doesn't travel as much as my dad does, that it made sense for us to look into moving our home address to Tennessee. Well, when we looked into that, we also found out that our insurance was going to be cheaper. And we were like, all right, so I guess we're going to be moving to Tennessee.
Sure.
So our home base is in Nashville, Tennessee, quote unquote now. But
it's where the mail gets sent.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the
basically
day,
it.
because you know, it's nice to have a home base when you're traveling full time. I mean, at the end of the day, that's pretty much it. Right?
Yeah, totally true.
Kurt, did you collect a patch when you were in Jamaica? I collected something so much better in Jamaica, a wife. We got married in Jamaica, and it was awesome. We actually have our wedding video. Yeah,
I don't know if it's still on there. Maybe not.
So, anyways, we got married in Jamaica. That was when Lauren had dark hair instead of blonde hair. Surprise, she's not a natural blonde. Just throwing that out there.
Who is?
Who is, right? Well, your sister is.
That's true.
Yeah, Leslie. Yeah. So Lauren has 2 other sisters. One is natural blonde. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. What else we got here?
Tom says, new to RVs, thinking of traveling alone every once in a while. Maybe more some since the wife is still working. How hard is it to make acquaintances? Do most people pretty much keep to themselves? That's a really good question. So I think if we had traveled pre-pandemic, our answer would probably be a little bit different than it is now. So when we first started traveling, it was in the RV. It was in November of 2020. And things with the
I think, right?
September, November, something to that effect.
Yeah.
So when we first started traveling, it was very, like, one of the biggest reasons that we chose to do RV life is because we could self-isolate in our little bubble, but still experience the travel stuff. So back then, campers, like, pretty much didn't associate at all. Now,
everybody's keeping to themselves.
Yeah, now as the world is starting to change, that's really starting to change as well.
So we met Glamp Dockers, right?
That is how we met Glamp Dockers.
Yeah.
We've met some really, really good friends
Honestly.
on the road. So I think it's really, if you want to meet people, I think it's really easy to meet people on the road. I will say, just like any other situation, being neighbors, whatever, just respecting other people's, like, boundaries. And if you see somebody who is, you know, in their campground or in their camping space and they're wearing a mask, they're probably not going to be as open to being friends with you. Like, they probably want more space. Like, just paying attention to the subtle cues. And you'll
honestly, you know, it just comes down to respecting others. There's people that are gonna have, like, their entire campsite quarantined off, and there's others that are gonna be like, hey, come on over, share a campfire. So it really just depends. I think it's just important to respect everybody else's space
100%
and feelings. We respect everybody always. And yes, apparently our wedding video is up. That's it's a very intimate thing we threw up there. That's just us.
We removed some of our videos that weren't as, like, relevant to our RV life, so I didn't know if it was up or not.
It is up, yeah. And in terms of Montego, Tony's Trades, have we been to Montego? Psh, yeah, man. We've been to Jamaica a lot.
We love Jamaica.
We used to go every single year. We have lifelong friends in Jamaica. We would go to Negril often on the cliffs. We stayed in pretty much every hotel, but we go beyond the hotel gates, which is not what most people, travelers do. We like to hang out with locals, and we've been to some local spots, and that's been awesome. We've had some Jamaican jerk chicken on some cliffs at night, drinking a Red Stripe, and it's been some of the best nights ever, enjoying a sunset at Rick's Cafe. And we love not just Rick's Cafe, but just all of it, you know?
Yep. Jamaica is a special place in our hearts since we got married there.
It really is, yeah.
And we want to go back, but obviously we're kind of waiting until, you know,
we
love
Jamaica. Yeah.
Anya, hi. We miss you too, love.
Yeah, that's Glamper Sampson's social director.
So when we met Ron and Terry Glamp Dockers in Sedona, their puppy Samson is, like, the sweetest ever. He shows up as a superstar in our very first first week boondocking video. If you haven't seen it, check it out. He is crazy level cute.
You guys follow her. And,
I think we missed one or two. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
And while she's looking, Tony's Trades, are you in Jamaica currently? Yeah,
Okay,
Let's
so
see.
Tammy says, do you have packages sent you at any time during your travels, and how does that work?
Sure.
Also, do you stay eating healthy on the road? Okay, those are two big questions. First,
That's some really big questions.
packages are pretty simple. So we have, like I
Yeah.
mentioned before, my mom, we ship all of our stuff to
Yeah.
her, and then she ships us a care package about once a month.
Yeah.
And then also you can ship things to campgrounds. We just would suggest that you call them in advance, make sure they're cool with it. Usually they'll give you like your site number. And so we put Lauren and Daniel Wander Local because our Airstream says Wander Local on the side of it. So it's kind of hard to miss.
Sure.
And then ship things there. So that's worked out really well and hasn't. So mail has been pretty straightforward. And then eating healthy on the road. So I think we kind of go back and forth, to be honest with you. When we're training
the
for
day.
marathons and like doing our thing that has a good solid goal with being healthy, we're both really, really good at it. When we don't have a goal, we don't do as well and we end up eating out more. So right now we are definitely we have a goal because we are going to run the Chicago Marathon in a couple of months.
You've been doing so much better than I have.
I have been doing way better than Daniel.
So true.
But it's totally
I've been doing
doable.
poorly.
I think at the end of the day, it's just a lot like being at home and being healthy. Like you got to have great habits, like food prepping on the weekend. Like just because you're living
Yeah.
RV life doesn't mean you should change that. So it's totally doable. It's just kind of about creating habits that fit inside of, this lifestyle.
Yeah, Brian, in terms of training for marathon while you're traveling, it can be difficult at times. The most difficult thing is to move your long run day. And it's contingent upon where you are as well. Everybody needs a long run day when they're training for a marathon, which is like your longest mileage day.
Yeah.
There are places where it's just not possible, where you'd just be running on a highway. So in those instances, I'll wait until I get to the next campground and then do that long mile, like 10 to 20 mile run. And then the short, sort of interval training and things like that you can do in most campgrounds, honestly. I kind of alternate shoe types because certain campgrounds will have like rocky terrain. So I've got some trail runners as well as like my distance and speed shoes as well. So it's definitely possible to train for marathon while you're traveling, but not if you're partaking in, poor food and drinking
As you can
choices.
see,
as
I'm
well.
drinking water.
Exactly. I will get serious about training mid-June when I have approximately 4 months.
But I mean, to be fair, Daniel has run 8,
million.
9 gajillion marathons, and this is going to be my second one. So
That's true.
I am being a lot more strategic this time because when I ran the first one, if you have seen that video, my very first marathon, which was while we were RVing, what happened was that I was training and doing really well, and then we moved into the RV. It broke all of my habits, and so I ended up running a full marathon and really not having done hardly any training for the last 3 months up to it. It took me over 6 hours to complete it. My whole body hated me. So my game plan is not to repeat that and to do a better job with it this time. So I'm taking it very seriously.
No. Amen. That's such a great question.
Gilbert asshole. No, I'm not.
I'm going to let
reading
you
that.
answer this question.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
reading
Gilbert,
that.
this is my polite Southern wife cannot even read your question, but I will. If you have guests come over and you need to do big number 2, do you ask them to leave or is it not an issue? That's a very good question. So I think all RVs have like paper thin walls.
Yeah.
If you need to do number 2, okay, here's my answer to that. The correct answer is if you have friends come over and you need to do a number 2, every campground has plenty of bathrooms. So just go use that. Rather than bomb the entire RV,
Well,
it's just not.
What we've also found from a camper perspective is if you're visiting with other camper friends and they have their own RV, you pretty much just like use your own bathroom
and you meet outside
and hang out outside. So,
gosh, again, we're always back on the poop talk, but poopery is your friend. Spray it. Lavender is a great smell. Lavender poopery. Recommended 5 out of 5 stars.
Oh my god!
Right?
Oh.
Yes, Terry, Ron, you guys would agree. Poopery, and if you have friends come over, it is what it is. Hopefully, they're close enough friends to where it's just not awkward. But
oh my god, it would always be awkward. There's no way in hell that would not always be awkward.
True. I mean that it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Oh my golly jeepers.
Yeah. My friends know me, so they're okay with it. They understand. If you're gonna stay in an RV with me, it's especially after Mexican night. It is what it is.
Oh my, okay. I'm ending the food conversation with that. That is just way too far down the rabbit hole for me to be able to handle that. Okay, now that I am 100 shades of red and look like a tomato, let's see. What's the next question
Oh my gosh.
on the list? Okay, so questions about Lauren and Daniel. One of the questions we get a lot is how do we afford to live full time on the road? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we work a lot. We film a lot. We work a lot. We're basically running like 2 or 3 companies on the side as well on top of YouTube. We're just workaholics. And
Well-
the bottom line is we have a company.
Yeah.
We spent 10 years building it. It was an overnight success, 10 years in the making. We now have a team and middle management to run most of the operations. So that helps out immensely. And that helps to cover the majority of these costs. On that note, every dollar we collect through Wander Local, because we have like $50 million jobs, we filter right back through local communities and even then some. So when you guys are like buying our Wander Local gear, like hats and shirts and things in our Wander Local store,
We're doing super chat on live.
chats on lives, or with like literally we've dedicated an entirely secondary account for all of the funds that we generate here through YouTube from you guys, and we spend 100% of that in local businesses with local communities.
Yep.
And sometimes we just like super tip people at restaurants, and it just makes their entire day. So yeah.
So that's what we do for a living. We have our full-time jobs that we still work and then do this fun YouTube stuff and a couple other things on the side.
Yeah,
That's the
because
thing.
we enjoy spending time with you guys. We enjoy building this community.
Yeah.
We enjoy when you guys are talking to each other. That's
Makes it fun.
yeah, it really does.
Okay, Elizabeth,
yeah.
I love you 2 pieces for even asking about my ankle. Thank
Yeah.
you. Has it completely healed? No. To be honest with you, it is still swollen, which is so annoying. But I am doing exercises like multiple days a
Yeah.
week where I'm trying to strengthen both my ankles really to get
Yeah.
that back and running. I am running even though it's still a little swollen and I'm not having any pain. So that's a win. But it's really annoying that I still have one cankle. Like, why?
It's getting there though.
It
I mean,
is.
You can put some pressure on it, and
I'm running on it, so that's a win.
yeah, faith and flower. There you go. Somebody else doesn't like to talk
Thank
about
you.
poop and
I
is being polite.
appreciate that more. Now, if I could just have more people support me on the let's
Yeah.
not have poop conversations and let's not support the mullet, like my life would be fuller.
Yeah, that's so true. Gosh, that's so true. And let's see. Say 3 days. Blah, blah, blah. Air freshener. Yeah, exactly. Glam talkers. Exactly. Air freshener is your friend, especially when you're living in small spaces.
Mm-hmm. Real.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
The next question we get often: how long have we been living in the Airstream? So a little over 8 months now.
Yeah.
When our very first
Yeah.
Airstream was a loaner from Airstream Corporate. They gave it to us for about 3 months while ours was being built so that we could go ahead and get started making newbie Airstream content and sharing that with you guys here on YouTube and Facebook and all that fun stuff. And then when we dropped that one back off, it still took a little bit longer than they expected for our new Airstream to be finalized. So we had about a month where we moved back in with my dad again, waiting for our Airstream to get done, and then we hit the road again. And so now we've been like on the road since January 1st.
Yeah.
So we've officially been like full-time RV and our rig for a little over 5 months now.
Yeah, and Ivan, to answer your question, between July and August. So we're headed back towards Tennessee to be there in mid-July for a rally around mid-July. And then August, we're probably heading slightly north there towards Ohio.
We want to try to knock out some of the colder states
Exactly.
while we still can.
We're going to be hitting Colorado. It's not even fair, but we're going to be hitting Colorado and Utah over the next month. But we're flying through, and that is, we know better than to skip over those states. So we're going to be looping our butts right back that direction and hitting those states properly. It's just we have a lot of states to cover between California and Tennessee, so we're gonna kind of like skip through a few nights in each state, and that's gonna be that is gonna be a journey in itself.
Yeah, true.
Y'all. Literally from California to Tennessee journey in whatever that's gonna be. Oof, my gosh, a lot of travel, not a lot of sleep, and
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
'Cause we
and
have
you
a
guys are gonna be there for
destination.
all of it.
Yeah.
And the goal is to experience as much as we can while we're like skipping along these states. So
Truth. Mitchell, now that I know that it's my reaction with the poop and the mullet, I'm gonna work on not reacting. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. I mean, that's
Oh,
I do the same
Shannon,
thing too.
you loved the damn jokes. Oh my gosh, they're still happening.
Wait until you see the next damn video at Hoover Dam.
Well,
I'm
even
just saying,
when
it's
we were in
awesome.
Joshua Tree this weekend, we went on a hike that had another freaking dam.
We went to see Barker Dam.
Can't win, man.
It was damn good.
It was ridiculous.
It was damn
It was ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, too funny. So Brian asks, what special things did Airstream do for your rig?
Easy. Oh, did they wait? Did
Oh,
Ace? They,
nothing. We just got our
they didn't do
Airstream
anything. But
straight off
when
the
we got
factory.
it, I'll tell you exactly what we did to our Airstream as soon as we got it. It came with a Blu-ray player. What the hell, right? So I unplugged the Blu-ray player and plugged in our Apple TV. The grates, it didn't come with grates. First of all, with the
oven.
in the oven, it came with these like prong
Stove.
things, and when you're boiling water, there's like a few prongs that are holding the pot of boiling water. And I thought to myself, that makes no sense whatsoever. So we got these like cast iron grates for the top of the oven or stove, and that has been a huge addition as well.
Yeah, we love those things.
We added a lighting kit to
Our
the bottom of the
buggy
RV.
lights.
Boogie lights, yes, to the bottom of the light of the Airstream, and that has been huge. So when we hit campgrounds at night, yes, you could wear like a LED headlamps, but we just boom powered up with white light, and I do all the hookups at night, no problem whatsoever. I can see the stabilizing jacks go down. I can see everything underneath the RV at night. So for me, that has been a great upgrade.
And when we have other people come hang out with us at a campfire around the campground or whatever, Daniel loves to turn it on rainbow mode and embarrass the crap out of me with the
there's
lights.
like lightning mode and there's like dual zone mode, and I'm just like
It's so
it gets
goofy.
crazy.
So goofy.
Only when we're not around other campers, because we want to be respectful. So we're not like going like
But we also have been told, as far as the lights go, is that it's actually really good to have underbody
rodents,
kit lights.
right?
Yeah, to deter rodents and other small animals from like digging up in places where you don't want them.
Yeah, that's a great question from Tammy. You're getting the same Airstream as us in mid-September. Do you feel like you have enough room for living, cooking, and working? Easily, no question. I think 30 foot is plenty of space. It depends on how many there are of you, of course. If there's like 6 of you,
Well, no, probably not.
then Tammy, maybe not. But if there's like 2 to even 3 or maybe even 4, I think it's definitely doable. 2 is easy. I mean, we have plenty of
2
space
is
in
really
there.
easy.
Yeah.
Well, and so I'll also say that, especially when you think about
Yeah.
cooking, is that you'll just develop new habits. Like some of the new habits that we have are like when I'm cooking, and I'm a way neater cook now. Like when I take something out, I'll measure it or whatever I need to do with it and put that thing away. So you just get used to living in a smaller space, but we feel like it's more than enough. We could probably technically go smaller if Classic did that.
Would we consider a rally to Alaska? Yes.
Oh, 100%. We've heard that's one of the best ways to do it.
That would be amazing. We so desperately want to do a meetup with all of you. I mean, the fact that you guys become friends with each other through all this process, and the ability for us all to just meet somewhere and do something fun is at the top of our list. We're just waiting for all of this to pass so that everybody feels comfortable meeting again. And then we're definitely going to do that. Because for us, it has always been about the community. We're always encouraging you guys to wander within your own community. That's kind of the core of what we're doing with Wander Local. Wander Local is not about us at the end of the day. It's about this mission to get everybody to wander within their own communities.
Shop locally.
And find the cool, unique restaurants within your own communities or within other communities. I mean, it's what
and we think that would be so much fun to do with you. So that's on our list. And I mean, obviously Alaska would be amazing.
Oh my gosh, that would be so much fun. I think we would definitely need the lift kit for that. I don't know. right? That's what we
That's what
hear,
we've heard.
but not a big deal. There's Airstream Nuts and Bolts. Apparently, is another guy he's one of
Who
the
can
other
do it,
Airstream
yeah.
ambassadors. We're Airstream ambassadors as
We've
well. So,
heard
but
good
there's
things about his work.
yeah, he's doing some pretty cool stuff.
So we'll get there eventually.
Alaska 2023. I feel like there's a rally already in the
Could
works
be
here.
a thing.
And we know people that can help coordinate all of this. We have
Truth.
a lot of connections. So
Okay, so Tony asks,
Yeah.
what route are we taking for our trip? I'm assuming to Tennessee.
yeah, there's a lot of Alaska
it's on a
2023 is
spreadsheet.
happening. I mean, right before our very eyes.
I mean, it does
I mean,
seem to be the case. That would be very fun.
And I feel like it's something we're just gonna have to do.
I'd be
at this
down for
point.
that.
Yeah,
Okay, Tony, so our trip from California to Tennessee,
Yeah.
we're thinking we are going through Nevada, and then
oh, it's wild.
it's
Yeah,
in a spreadsheet. We'll
Yeah.
we'll talk about that more once we really got it nailed down. Right now, we need to figure out how long we're going to stay in California and how miserable we want to make ourselves going from California to Tennessee and how fast.
Yeah, because realistically, we should probably start the trek back to Tennessee now, but we want to see more of California. So the longer we stay in California, the faster we'll have to skip
Yeah.
across the states at this point. So we really don't necessarily know the
That's on our list of things to do tomorrow to look at and decide how long are we going to stay. But
Yeah.
Audrey, that's
Yeah.
a really good question, and people ask us that often. How far ahead are we trying to book campsites, and have we run into everything being booked? So as far as booking in advance,
yeah.
I mean, if you watch any of our videos, you know we're not really particularly proactive. We're very, very proactive in our work lives. And so when we are relaxing, we want to just kind of go with the flow. So the furthest ahead I'm typically booking a campsite is 2 weeks, and sometimes not even. So like right now, the campsite that we're in today, just outside of San Diego, we've only got it booked for a week, and I don't have a week booked after that. Mostly because we know that we've got an upcoming work trip that may be that week after that or the week after that. So we're kind of waiting to see, are we going to be flying out? What are we having to do? So we definitely book our campsites very last minute. We've heard a lot of RVers talk about, we can't find campsites. It's really stressful. And sometimes it is, but usually when I'm having an issue that I can't find a campsite to book, if I just stop, give it a day and start the next day, I almost always pick up the phone. First place I call, they'll have availability. So from that standpoint, I use a lot of Google Maps. When we're boondocking, I like Campendium, but when I'm looking for campgrounds, I really like Google Maps because I feel like there are a lot of options there, and I like to be able to sort and say,
locally owned
4+
as well.
stars and higher. Yeah, and I found a lot of locally owned stuff that way. So that's how I do a lot of my searching. But we also look at where are we at today? And we know we only want to drive 3, max 4 hours in a day. So that's kind of how I'll create a proximity before I find a campsite. So we have run into issues where literally we couldn't find anything. We expected that to be this weekend, and then we realized that we talked to the current campground we were at in Joshua Tree, and they could extend our stay. We just had to move to a different site, which you guys will see in an upcoming video that we did a day in the life that's coming soon, which is really fun. But overall, we haven't really gotten stuck yet, so that's good.
You hear a lot of stuff about campgrounds being booked. The reality is we just came from a place in Joshua Tree that was mind-blowing. Legitimately.
It was amazing.
It's Memorial Day weekend, and the fact that they have any openings there
was
is
crazy.
unreal, because it's definitely one of the top probably 5 campsites we've been to
we
so
loved
far.
it. The sunsets were magical.
Seriously. And the fact that this place, and it's like a tropical oasis in the middle of the desert, because they have there's some water features and ducks and wildlife and stuff there.
So cool.
And it's the middle, it's outside, just right outside of Joshua Tree National Park. How they had openings on Memorial Day weekend is mind-blowing. So the reality is, when you hear about campsites being booked and there's no way to get into them, look around, call around. There's definitely places that are available.
We
right?
have heard, though, from
Yeah.
other RVers that for some reason it does seem to be a lot more difficult on the East Coast to find campgrounds than it is on the West Coast. Also, when I'm looking for campsites, if you absolutely have to be in a certain city within a certain mile radius of somewhere, that's going to be harder. We're not staying in downtown San Diego because A, it was hard to find availability, and B, they were overpriced for what they were. So we're staying a little bit outside of the city, but because we RV life, driving 20 minutes into the city is nothing. So that's a thing.
Yeah, Moab is full. Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of the top campgrounds like Yellowstone and stuff they're just going to be booked out, and that's expected.
Yeah, and one of the things that Daniel and I have talked about with that
Yeah.
is like if you're full-time RV life,
Yeah.
expecting to be able to pick up a Yellowstone in 2 weeks is ignorant.
It's not happening.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you deserve a vacation too. So planning that out in advance, like you normally would a vacation, kind of like we planned out in advance that we were going to be in Tennessee for this rally. You can always do that and then just chart a course there once you know when you can get a hold of like that bucket list campground.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like there are definitely things that we know we want to plan in advance. Apparently, Alaska 2023
is a thing
because everybody else has already started to plan it.
I'll show you how to do 2022. I was kind of hoping for this coming summer. But Glamp Dockers, we're going up the coast of California right now. That is our current trajectory.
Retired Life Ollie Style, welcome. Yeah, so you're using RV Trip Wizard.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
I haven't used that. I haven't heard that one. I have to look at that.
Nice.
Oh, and Mitchell asked, how far behind are you in your regular post? A month? So we were.
There were times
that's what
when
the
we
goal
were
is.
just a couple of days.
Yeah, that's what the goal is. Right now, our video from Lake Mead was just a couple of weeks ago that we actually shot it. We've been doing a little bit of extra filming over the last couple of weeks because we need to get a little more in advance because we still work full-time jobs, and this is kind of like a fun side hustle for us. Being a need to have a Sunday video and shooting it on Wednesday and editing on Thursday and like getting it ready on Friday is miserable. So we're always trying to be a month ahead, but again, back to our proactive versus reactive Airstream life. It just kind of is what it is.
And this is a very good thing to know. Glamp Dockers, thank you, Terry and Ron. Most national and state parks reserve a percentage for walk-ups.
Okay, I know.
Did not know that. That is really cool to know. Gilbert, what internet service do you use to work remotely? It's Bix Wireless.
BIX.
Wireless. Their website kind of is not great.
Kind of sucks.
But they have unthrottled, wide open internet, and we use the crap out of it, and we've never had any issues whatsoever. What special equipment to boost your signal is there? There's
tons of equipment. So we have a PepWave router that we use that's pretty hardcore. We're not super technical when it comes to how all of this stuff works. We're actually going to do a live in the very near future with Steve, who is the owner at Bix Wireless, because he's probably the very first person who is able to talk to us in human speak, and you didn't have to listen to him for like 600 hours to get it. So we're going to bring him on in the coming weeks and have him talk to you guys about like the technical details of RV internet and how it works, because he taught us about routers and how the signals work and the priority of your different, all it
towers,
gets crazy technical.
So that's coming soon. We're going to introduce Steve. He's the owner. Literally all internet questions, you'll be able to ask him live, and that's going to be amazing because the guy is awesome. He owns a small business in Tennessee as well.
Well, Bix is his small business in Tennessee. So that's pretty cool.
That's true.
Yeah. But one of the things with boondocking specifically though, Gilbert, is I mentioned before, we always try to find a campground close to where we're boondocking and go scout the spot before we go. And when we do that, we actually take our router with us. So we'll plug it into the truck when we get to a place where we're like, oh, this looks good. And we'll look at our phones and see, okay, what does our cell service look like? We plug in our router, we let it boot up, and then we'll actually run a speed test. So we bring our laptops with us too, because it's that critical for us to be able to do video calls and all that kind of good stuff. So that's kind of our process for how to check a boondocking spot's internet. But one of the things we also do in advance of that is we'll look on Campendium and see what kind of ratings the internet has for AT&T or Verizon, because those are the two different services that we use. So
Tony's Trades, he's saying we should let you guys plan the Alaska trip. That's probably not the best, or that's probably the best idea because we're just not necessarily planners. We probably have to figure something out.
That would be really fun.
That would be awesome. I'm pretty sure that you guys could probably map out. We could have like an entire stream dedicated to mapping out that Alaska adventure. DS Photoscapes, Wonder Local means Small Town America, and Small Town America is not full. Oh my gosh.
Truth.
like legitimately, small town America is not full, and there is availability in every small town, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's a hilarious question.
Yeah.
Jetty Close?
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess how to say
Pretty
that.
close. Yeah.
Hey guys, have you ever turned down a road with the Airstream and realized you're not gonna make it because
Oh
of a
my
bridge or
gosh.
double parked cars, etc.? What do you do?
Yes.
Louisiana.
So when we were going to the Bayou of Louisiana, we were staying at a Harvest Host, and GPS took us to the right when we hit the waterway. Guess what? It was to the
Should've gone
left, right? And we literally wound up at a dead end.
And there were cars.
And there were cars parked at the end of it. So like legitimately, it was literally my worst towing nightmare. You know, dead end, cars parked there, and people were outside of their cars talking. So it just amplified the problem. Because now I was going to be judged for going on this like,
well, he did
road.
look really stupid, to be fair. Like,
oh my gosh.
Oh, shit. Well, and it was one of those moments where we didn't trust our gut too, because we looked at the road and we were like, "Ooh, this doesn't."
It looks like it would be
right,
to the left, but GPS is saying to the right. Yeah. But needless to say, we were able to turn around, make a
We got
U-turn.
our walkie-talkies out.
Oh my gosh, walkie-talkies. Listen, there are
because
two
we
things.
didn't have cell signal either.
Yeah, and you cannot depend on cell signal everywhere in the U.S. There are two things that we heavily rely on, right? So one is walkie-talkies. We have two-way communication up to 5 miles at all times because of our walkie-talkies, and we love them.
Mhm.
We use them to back up the trailer and pull U-turns. We also have a Garmin that we use when we're going hiking.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of like an emergency beacon. We can call like a helicopter if we like fall off a cliff, because we probably could do something crazy like that. But in terms of low bridges, we haven't had any issues. I always map out, or at least look at the course before we head out of a campground.
But we have heard that's more of a thing out east than it is.
Exactly right. I've heard the Northeast has some low bridges you have to be aware of. We have not been to the Northeast yet.
We're looking forward to it.
Exactly. Yeah, but in terms of low bridges, no issues whatsoever. I tend to look out for the side roads. One thing you'll have to be aware of is like railroad tracks, because some railroad tracks you can go over them very smoothly, and others look like a mountain.
Yeah.
If it looks like you're going to wind up like a seesaw on a railroad track, just stop and figure out how to like back up or do whatever, and just go a different direction, or pass it, or take a right.
Well, and like with that instance
in
Louisiana, when we hit that dead end, like you just did a really slow, like 100-point turn, and figured it out. Like, and one really nice gentleman who was like out there talking to somebody, who's like, "Would it be helpful if I moved my car?" And we're like, "Yeah." So, I mean, just talk to people. That helps too, and you can almost always figure your way out of a situation.
Honestly, like that's probably my best advice as well. If you're in a sticky situation, don't worry about others around you. Like, don't let them force you into putting the trailer in a very bad situation.
Take your time.
Take your time. Yeah, honestly, just if you have to get out and talk to the person behind you and say, "Hey, listen, I'm so sorry. I need to back up." So I'd appreciate if you can just back up a little bit more and give me some room to pull a 180.
Most people are nice about it if you are.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, ooh, Adam, that's so exciting that you went to look at a 27 International on Saturday.
Yep. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Front bed. I love it. So just what if you pull down a cul-de-sac, oh man, that is back out 40 yards, go through the intersection again. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of deal with it, you know?
Try not to get too flustered.
Here's another really good thing. Like, truckers are like a family out there, and I've had so many truckers help me out, and I conversely I've had the ability to help other truckers out there as well, because they're on the road all day as well. So if you see a trucker trying to get over, like, let him in. And it doesn't matter whether you have your camper or you're in your car.
Yeah.
You know, just show some respect to those truckers that are out there working their butts off, you know, helping to, you know, get everything around. I don't know what I was going to say, but yeah.
Is that your 4 a.m. brain showing up?
Yeah. That's what happens when you.
For those of you guys who missed it, Daniel and I got up at 4 o'clock this morning to go see the sunrise in Joshua Tree, and it was beautiful and amazing, and we went on a couple hikes afterwards. So, to say the least, we're like a little bit tired, but we're happy to be here with y'all.
Exactly. And I mean, clearly the Alaska adventure is going to if we take this Alaska adventure, it's very important that we find local campgrounds along the way, because we know it'd be a game changer. Because there would be a big group of us, and that will be so
Yeah.
impactful to some of those like
Local
small
businesses.
businesses, locally owned businesses, and local campgrounds. That would
True.
be so impactful.
That would be so awesome.
That just like magnifies what we're all doing together here collaboratively. So that would just be
Oh, Marianne,
Yeah.
thank you. We appreciate that. Like,
yeah.
honestly, all of your
Yeah.
comments where y'all are telling us that you enjoy our videos, it makes all of it worth it. Like, when we
Yeah.
first started publishing these videos, I don't really know if we really thought that anybody would ever watch
Yeah.
them or hang out with us, other than just for, it was kind of like making sure that our moms knew that we were still alive, because as you can probably guess, we
Yeah.
scare them a lot, so that's a thing. Ah, Bill, thank you for doing the super chat. You are awesome.
And as we mentioned before, Bill, that $5 goes right back into a local business, 100%. We appreciate you immensely. When we started this journey, we, like Lauren said, we had no idea what would happen. We didn't know if anybody would watch, and the fact that you guys are watching
And hanging out with
hanging out
us.
it means so much to us. It means, like, legitimately, when we're going places, we always say to each other, we're like, we need to like share this experience with them. And when we're shooting video, we're like, we should do it in like first person perspective.
Yeah.
And what kind of like angles can we get to like bring them with us on this journey? We feel all of you when we're filming every day.
Totally.
And it means the world to us that you guys support us in that way.
True.
So yeah.
Oh, thanks, Matt. You
Oh,
are awesome. Y'all are the best.
Man, Matt's RV reviews. If you have not checked out their channel as well, Matt does a lot of amazing things with the RV community. Yeah, I mean, you guys are
Y'all are awesome.
legitimately. Do we have CV radios? Okay, so we don't go buy one. We do not.
I don't know what a CV radio is. What is that?
Yeah. Well, we bought the best walkie-talkies that you could buy without needing a license for them. So apparently, if you have like a certain type of walkie-talkie that transmits over certain channels and over a certain distance, it's
Okay.
required to have a license. The same is true with the drones as well. So I had to have an FAA. I had to take an FAA pilot's license, UAS license, to fly the drone, so that I can show you guys what we show you on the channel as well, which has been super, super cool. Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah. So we do some, let's see.
Oh, Marianne, you're
Um,
patiently awaiting your 2021 25-foot Globetrotter. It is so hard to wait, isn't it? I know when Daniel and I were waiting on
Yeah.
ours, oh my gosh, it was so difficult. Ah!
Man.
Y'all are awesome. Thank you, Mitchell. Adding to the funds to Alaska. Heck yeah. That would be so
Oh my
much freaking
gosh.
fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tony says no, look up CV radios. Okay, so we're going to look that up after
Okay.
this call so that we know what we're talking about. I feel like that is one of the coolest things about this community. Y'all teach us so much on a regular basis. Like, Daniel and I have these conversations. Oh, goodness. Daniel and I have these conversations. We're like, how do we know all this RV lingo? All right, Adam.
Oh my
thank
gosh, you guys are on
Super
fire.
chat.
What?
Matt, when are you going to start selling Airstreams? All right, good question, Matt. You're getting called out here. When's that going to start
Man.
happening?
Bill and Matt, Mitchell, and Adam, you guys are in fuego, my friends. Thank you so much.
So
Wow.
for those of you guys who don't know what a super chat is, especially like if you're on Facebook, when you go to YouTube, you can actually donate and get these cool highlighted
Yeah.
chats like you can see here. Obviously, they make our hearts warm, and we take all of the cash, like Daniel said. We have a separate bank account for all of this stuff
Yeah.
so that we can ensure all of it is going directly into local business, because that is 100% the purpose of Wander Local. Help to encourage people to be more conscientious, which is awesome.
Yeah. If you look back into our story about how this journey started, we got stuck abroad in Africa during the beginning of the pandemic, and we were able to use our communication skills to help those that were stranded abroad.
Yeah.
And we knew that there was a greater mission in our life, and it was to create as large an impact as we possibly could. And we knew we couldn't do it alone. And honestly, that's why we started this channel. We
Yeah.
started this channel to bring everybody together to create an even larger impact.
Yep.
So when you guys talk about, hey, let's all get together and go to Alaska, well, hell, like let's do that. And that's what you can do. That's the power of the group and a community.
It's totally true.
Yeah, it creates
Okay,
large impact.
Matt,
Yeah.
when we come to Tampa, you can absolutely review our Airstream. That would be awesome. You're happy to do that. That'd be a
That would
blast.
be awesome. Yeah.
We don't know when
We'll
we'll
bring
be
it to
back
Matt's
in
RV
Tampa,
reviews.
but
What? Yeah. I mean,
with the
This year.
Airstream, that's the
yeah.
kick, right?
So Matt, where in Florida are you? Oh, you said Tampa. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
that would be
That
so
would
awesome.
be so awesome.
I love
Yeah,
it.
we would love to do that. Man, that is so cool.
Okay, let's see if we've
okay.
covered all. Okay, if you guys have more questions, please feel free to go ahead and leave them in the comments because Daniel and I have not eaten, and plus our 4 a.m. Wake up time, we're getting a little sleepy.
You're getting like a loopier version of us.
like
which-
by the minute.
yeah, I don't know if that's a good or bad version, but this is like sleep deprived Lauren and Daniel right now that you're getting.
Oh, Matt. Okay, you're super close in Lando Lakes. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll definitely do that when we're back.
That would be so awesome. I would love to do that.
Yep. Okay, so we
Matt, we're
covered.
definitely gonna do that, my friend.
We covered talking about where we're going next. So we're working on our way up the coast of California for an undetermined number of weeks before we head to Tennessee,
sure.
which is going to be really fun, and we're super excited about it. And then I threw in a question for obvious reasons. Okay, his question is more important than mine.
It's gonna bring back mullet and poop.
No,
Yeah, I
no,
mean,
the answer is always
listen.
no.
there's always room for mullets, and it's in there. It's in there.
Bye,
Cheers
Matt.
now.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, too funny.
Oh my gosh, mullet and poop. I feel like every conversation
It always
is-
comes back to these two things.
mullet and poop.
It's a thing. Well, on that
With
note,
the-
guys, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We pinky promise the next time we do this, we will triple check our internet in advance so that you guys can get the full live stream experience. But for those of you guys who did leave super chats, we love you. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you guys soon.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
y'all.